she's going to go early. So we'll see. Fred.
So I'm at the website conservation.
Tracy, you all set? Yes. You all set? Okay.
It's such a small area. You saw where I live. It's a very shallow. Get me out of here. Get it. All right, let me know. Well, okay. I just wanted to touch it off. I saw Frank out there.
Page keeps getting bigger.
Sweater, that was my good first move. Don't forget the sweater, jacket, winter coat sometimes.
Yeah.
You can weather that I don't have.
You guys all set?
The reads.
All set? Fred, you all set? Michelle, you all set?
You want to do them? You can do them. No.
All right. Everyone's microphones on?
No, it says make you start. But they get to the signal itself.
Okay, folks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023, Town of Webster's Conservation Commission meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 5:33. So, before I begin, I just want to remind everyone, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded. And if folks need to chat or utilize devices, please just keep a minimum. This forum, the noise carries, so thank you. All right, so first up, public meetings, requests for determination of applicability, also known as RDAs. First up, we have 9 Wakefield Ave, Richard Gauger. This is retaining wall, continued from 5/9/23. And I'm going to call upon our agent to give us an update on that status.
Mr. Goger called me and he requested to be continued to the June 5th meeting. He is currently working with Chapter 91 because that was the wall that was in the water in the 480, and the commission had recommended that he go the Chapter 91 permitting first. So he's in the middle of doing that, so asked to be continued.
Okay, so with that, can I get a motion of continuance of 9 Wakefield Ave, Mr. Gauger's project, to our next meeting date, which is June 5th, 2023, here in the Selectmen's Room? All right, so first motion is Commissioner Bach. Do we have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Cirillo with the second. I'm going to do a roll call. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sheeran?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
All right, and Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, so next up, we've got 77 Bates Point Road. This is Randy and Donna Becker, replace and extend a deck, patio, and steps. welcome.
Commissioners?
Hi.
All right. Joy, I have to read this?
Yes, I'm going to call on our temporary clerk for the evening, Commissioner Brown, to read the public notice, please.
In accordance with MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, the Wetlands Protection Act, a public meeting will be held on a request for determination of applicability filed by Randy and Donna Becker to determine whether the deck extension, patio, and steps at 77 Bates Point Road in Webster, Mass. Assessor ID 50_A_50_0 is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and local wetland bylaw. The public meeting will be held in the Board of Selectmen room, meeting room, second floor, Webster Town Hall, 350 Main Street, Webster, Mass. On May 23rd, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Any person interested in this application or wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place designated for the wetland for the Webster Conservation Commission, Don Portman, Conservation Agent.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I'm going to ask our staff, Don Portman, to give us a status update, please.
Okay, so the applicants are looking to do a deck extension. They're also looking to remove some bushes and do some resurfacing. I went out there, I took some pictures. They also hired Mr. Krawowski to go out and take a look at the pervious and impervious. I did only get that report today, so I did get it uploaded. So as far as Mr. Krawowski is concerned, everything looks fine. They're not increasing any of the impervious surfaces at the site, and there's no reason not to proceed.
Okay.
I do, just to add one other thing that happened today. Today's been a busy day. I did receive a couple of public comments, and I do need to post those as well, so I have also included those on the meeting materials. I did ask the applicants in regards to what was referred to as riprap. The applicants actually produced a photo back from 2000 when the wall was originally constructed, of course, after coming to conservation. And then the other item in the public comments was the fact of the dock, which a couple of weeks ago, the applicants had come to me and asked for some guidance. So I know they're working on that currently as well.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Becker, welcome.
Okay. Chairman, thank you. Donna Becker and Randy Becker. Donna's been doing a lot of the work with regards to the planning and the plans that have been put up here, but I think as Ms. Portman said, the first thing we're looking to do is extend the deck as really a four-step project. As part of that, to close off a stone wall, which we really don't use, a stone staircase, which we really don't use very much, which will also, the deck would go over. We have some cement patio that had been resurfaced probably 20 or so years ago with an epoxy base that is failing. It's just it's a paint basically that was put on it with a glaze that the ozone has ultimately eaten up. So we're looking to have that removed and resurfaced. And then lastly, we have some stairs that are failing. The concrete is probably 50 or 60 years old, and it's creating an issue with, possible slipping and falling. I've repatched a couple of the stairs through permission with Ms. Overholt 2 years ago, but at this stage, we're looking to put stone on top of them, glue stone on it, and that's the fourth item. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if it makes sense, there's a picture that shows the work. We also have the construction sequence in here. The extension of the deck, okay, I'm assuming that's on here as well. So the extension of the deck is by about 4.5 feet. Right now, it's 18 to 19 feet away from The lowest wall you see in that picture, that lowest wall, which has a pretty significant footing, that was installed in 1999 to 2000. I think it was the fall of 1999. Back then, the Conservation Commission agreed that that whole land was falling down into the lake. So the only way to keep it from eroding was we built that 100-foot long wall and put some stairs in that. So that area up above it remains flat. And what we like to do is we planted bushes back in the 1999 or 2000 period in front of the glass railing you see there. That's causing us two problems with moisture. Moisture's sitting underneath those bushes and in those bushes, and it's, if you can see the white on the fascia board underneath where the glass is, the wood behind there is all rotting. So how do we take care of the moisture? One of the issues, we have to remove the bushes, and what we look to do is extend those glass panels 4.5 feet, sit on the edge of the wall that's been there for about 60 years. We've talked to various builders. The wall can sit, the extension of the deck can sit right on top of that, and that'll be about 4.5 feet. It'll mean the deck ultimately would be the distance from that top wall, which is about 14.5 feet. We know that there's an issue with not being doing work within 10 feet. If you look at the bottom lower picture, you'll get an idea of what that 60-year-old wall is, and just on the bottom of that picture, you'll see the wall that we put in for erosion. The question that had come up from, I think the Valeries that I saw in the comment was, there's riprap there. All those stones were put in when that wall was built. Back then, the Conservation Commission approved that. And we produced, for Ms. Portman, I don't know if it makes sense to have to show that picture, but we produced a picture from 4th of July party in 2000, the year 2000, and I'm not sure who it is that's jumping in the middle. I thought it might be my wife, but she wouldn't own up to that. And you can see all the stones, what was, I guess, called riprap. They were just stones that were put there. So that's been around ever since this wall has been constructed. So the extension of the deck, that 4.5 feet, will mean we're sealing off the middle stairs. That's been a problem just from using those stairs. You can see the extension of the sunroom. It's very difficult to get around there. So we're looking to eliminate that and extend the deck out 4.5 feet. Of course, that means we'd have to remove the bushes. We did ask Mr. Kravosky to take a look at that, just in case there was any concern about having any impervious issues, any concern that it would create impervious areas. For the last 20-something years that this deck has been on, the same material is on here that we intend to use, the exact same material. All the water from there drains down, there's gravel underneath it, and with the extension of the deck, we felt that that was any rain or any water would go straight down into that gravel, even if the bushes weren't there, as the rain goes down now where the bushes are. So we didn't think there would be an issue, but just to be safe, we contacted Mr. Kravosky, who has sent in his report indicating that it doesn't increase any impervious amount. It basically remains pervious across that entire section of bushes once they're removed. Moving to the bottom right-hand picture, you'll see closest to where the house is, there's concrete there. That's the part that is going to be resurfaced. When that resurfacing is done, it's basically ground off, and a vacuum follows it, sucks it all up, and then they come in with we haven't picked the actual material yet, but it's basically an epoxy paint, something that's non-slip, and they'll, in essence, roll that on. That's that part of it. Lastly, on the let's see, the stairs on the upper left hand, you can see where I've done a poor job of trying to be a mason. I've made a few of those patches there, but the other stairs, and I think Ms. Portman had taken some pictures of those are delaminating as well. So it's time to put stone across those and basically rebuild them with a stone finish. I'm not sure if we've decided on what particular type of stone yet, but it would be a thin veneer that's in essence cemented or glued on. And that is the essence of what we're doing. Those are the 4 areas that we are looking at. And then As Ms. Portman had suggested to us, we included a construction sequence. It's a pretty straightforward project, so that's all in there as far as what's being done first. You have in here a before and after pictures as part of it, so you'll see with the dimensions as far as where it stands from the lake once it's completed. And I think lastly, that's just your locus pictures on there, so I'll ask Donna if there's anything else I missed? No? I'll open up to questions.
Great job, Mrs. Becker. So Randy, I just want to just reiterate, the limit of work is essentially that second tier or first tier wall, correct?
Yeah, correct. So if we look at that first 60-year-old wall on this picture here, if we look down at that bottom left, it will not go beyond that wall. So that wall is where the deck will come out to, and everything else, that other 14 and a half feet to the lake will be untouched.
Okay.
With the exception of the stairs, on the left-hand side of that, as you can see, the upper left picture, those are the ones that are going to get resurfaced.
Okay. Now, as far as the bushes, are you just going to cut them and just leave the stump, or are you going to pull the stump out?
I think it makes more sense to just pull the stumps.
Okay.
I mean, we can do either.
Okay.
don't
It doesn't
think they grow.
matter. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean,
I'd rather not have the roots there because they're going to
Yeah.
attract bugs and
Absolutely.
retain their own moisture.
Okay.
There will be weep holes too installed where you see the about 4.5 feet of cement stairs there now.
Okay.
When we re-veneer that and re-cement that, behind that where the cement stairs are, we'll put gravel down and there will be weep holes, as there are weep holes in the existing upper wall as well.
Okay. Now, you're going to obviously need are they going to be pouring sonotubes to brace this up, or is it just going to sit right on
Are
the
you
wall?
talking about the deck?
The deck.
So
Yeah.
the deck right now, the existing structure we believe we can use,
Okay.
the understructure, and because you're going to be extending the deck structure,
Mm-hmm.
the support structure onto the wall, the feeling is we don't need that. There could be the chance that because there are already sonotubes under those,
Yeah.
there could be the chance we may have to do a helical, but we can't really determine that until we get underneath. But we don't expect, other than to put some cement down as a small footing where the stairs are being closed
Mm-hmm.
off, we don't expect to have any additional cement being used.
Okay. Pretty straightforward project. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
Yes, I have a few questions.
Commissioner
How are you
Sherlock?
going to pull out the bushes? By hand?
By hand. Mhm.
Okay.
Dig them out.
And Dawn, could we see a picture that shows how the left-hand staircase lands? It's hard to tell from this picture. Does it land in grass or on cement?
On pavers.
Pavers.
So it lands exactly in the same position on the flat level as the center one, which is basically at the very base of that wall.
I'm just wondering whether we should have a wattle or something at the bottom of that staircase.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, there's...
A wattle is
Yeah, I mean, it's...
You can explain a wattle.
Yeah, the wattle is basically, it's a netting or a
It's a straw tube.
straw tube. Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
It's a
straw
cylindrical
tube, yeah.
straw tube.
Yep,
Which is
straw
about
tube.
5 feet.
And during
It's called
construction...
a
yeah.
wattle.
It's temporary, yeah, we're not putting anything permanent. So, yeah, just temporary, yeah, I mean,
At the
we
base of-
could,
Ms. Chirillo, you're talking when
Base of
we,
both stairs while they're working in those areas?
when
Yeah.
we're working just on those
yeah,
stairs, because
just
that's
in
the
case
only.
there's some earth that ends
In
up
case
just
something
getting
goes for a ride.
turned up.
That's not a problem.
And there's no machinery that nothing obvious that's going to be on site.
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
Are you going to be facing off, closing off that stairway with stone to match? what's
Similar
there, or-
stone. My neighbor, this portion here, not this one. My neighbor has offered for us to take some of his surface rocks. He's got a wall there.
I was just asking because you said weep holes, which implied, but I'd never actually heard it said.
Yeah, no, weep holes exist already in the 60 feet of wall. Those were done in 2 different pours. And because we'll have gravel behind that, we'll have them, when the mason comes in and does it, I don't know how to do it, we'll have them put weep holes in as well. Yeah, my guess is they're gonna have to put some kind of a footing in which they have to dig by hand.
Yeah.
Of course, and they may put some rebar in.
Now, the deck Trex, or are you doing pressure treated and,
I think Ms. Portman has the note. It's called Vinyl, Ever.
oh,
Evernew,
okay,
there it is.
The vinyl is exactly what we have today. They still make the product, probably because it works so well.
yeah,
The problem with us is, of course, we don't want to have a seam where we have the 4.5 feet extended, so we're
Yeah.
going to put new boards on it. And the deck is 30 years old?
Yeah, it's worked great.
Or
Okay.
at least 25 years old.
So you're resurfacing the entire existing deck and the new area?
Correct.
Okay.
So there'll be completely new vinyl decking on it. We expect the structure underneath, which was all pressure treated when it was put in, to be in pretty good shape, other than possibly where those bushes are, because I've kind of, those front pressure treated ones are kind of moist. Those may have to be removed. And they should be able to, according to our builder, they should be able to join where it ends today and put a new support on the existing walls, so we don't have to do any more. Again, that's only going to extend 4.5 to 6 feet, so we don't have to do any additional digging.
okay. I think just another best management practice is anything that's inorganic or cut should be cut on the other side of the house.
Yeah, and
For the
Mr.
vacuum.
Yeah, Mr. Kravosky has
Yep.
noted that
Yep.
in his note, so we would do it on the side of the house rather
Yep.
than the lake
Or the
front.
vacuum
Thank you,
saw, or, yeah.
Glenn.
All right, folks, any other comments, questions on this project? Mr. Kravosky?
If you can hear me, then the only other thing on that wattle, I think it would be, almost, that you might put a top at the bottom of the stairs, because that, and then when the mason is chipping away whatever's loose, it goes on the top and doesn't go into the paver.
That's a good
and,
idea.
Clog the paver, and then the top can just be removed, dumped into a barrel or something, a bucket. That would be the easier way to clean that, any chip stuff that's coming off there before he resurfaces it.
Yeah, and take your wattle and just make a U shape on
That's
top
it.
of the tarp.
Yep.
It's a good idea.
And again, I'm sorry for the late delay in my report. I'll give Dawn a couple of extra copies in case you want to refer to it in the future. But it does go into, all cutting will be on the house side and not the lake side because of
Okay.
the poly or any type of material that we cut.
Great,
And just into your clauses in the bylaw that refers to what is impervious and what is pervious. And because we went around looking at that, and you do have an impervious surface clause under your stormwater management, and it does talk about anything that obstructs the infiltration, and we might correct your language in this, because it does say prevents water infiltrating from the underlying soil. It should be water infiltrating into the underlying soil. So you might want to correct your stormwater language. I believe it's not correct. We went over it a couple of times. So looking at this type, which has the slats in between, it does allow for that continuum. And it does also go into impervious to your bylaw, the towns, roads, paved parking lots, sidewalks, and rooftops. So this decking is not included in your impervious clauses for your stormwater. And that's how we came up with my small report on that. It was still pervious, because it does allow it between the slats, just like a regular deck, to drop down into that bed that's underneath, so it continues to infiltrate into the ground. Thank you.
all right, thank you, Glenn.
Underneath the deck, are you guys planning to put down any stone or crushed gravel or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had any issues at all. It never washes over, so we weren't planning on doing that, because it's all gravel underneath it. I mean, we couldn't grow grass under there because it's obviously dark. We occasionally have to chase a skunk or a possum out, but that's the only thing that has been down
I
there.
think his question was more about the,
Where
would
you're
apply
extending-
where you're taking the bushes out.
Right.
Oh,
What are you guys putting
The
under the
newly
deck in
covered
that
area.
location?
Yeah,
Dirt?
yeah, I think it's just going to be the same gravel that's
Yeah, what's over-
underneath the loam that's, so there's gravel, loam, and the bushes.
So you're
So-
taking out the bushes and the top loam?
well, whatever comes out when we pull the bushes out.
Okay.
But I guess our
So-
feeling is we don't need it and haven't needed any kind of pea stone or underneath the entire deck. So it should be the same when we remove those bushes. It's just going to infiltrate down below.
Okay, all right. Any last comments, suggestions, questions? All right, so with that, can I get a motion on this, please, for 77 Bates Point Road?
I'll make a motion for negative determination for 77 Bates Point Road.
Okay, first motion is for negative determination. Commissioner Bach, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Cirillo with the second, and a roll call, please. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Abstain.
And Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, thank you very much, and good luck with your project.
You all.
All right,
Thank you to my wife for her artwork.
Great, great work, Mrs. Becker. Thank you, we appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Fred needs to move his microphone closer to
I'm sorry?
Fred's microphone needs to be closer to Fred.
Yeah, Fred, just pull your, I just want to remind everyone to pull your microphones closer, please, and talk into them. All right, so next up, we've got 9 Kate Lane. This is Frank Scavone, construction of a 3-car garage and driveway. How we doing?
Good, how are you?
Great. All right, so I'm going to call upon our temporary board clerk tonight, Commissioner Brown, to read the public notice, please.
In accordance with MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, the Wetlands Protection Act, a public meeting will be held on a request for determination of applicability filed by Frank Scavone to determine whether the construction of a 3-car garage at 9 Kate Lane in Webster, Mass., Assessor ID 101_A_2_3 is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and local wetland bylaw. The public meeting will be held in the Board of Selectmen room, second floor, Webster Town Hall, 350 Main Street, Webster, Mass., on May 23rd, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Any persons interested in the application or wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place designated for the Webster Conservation Commission. Don Portman, Conservation Agent.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call on Don Portman, our staff, to give us an update on this project, please.
This project was submitted into our office. I reviewed the application. It's honestly right on the border. I think they more submitted the RDA to make sure that they were in compliance with conservation with this project. You know, there's a few things that the Conservation Commission may want to touch on. I know they're prepared to better give an overview of the project because there was some questions not only on my end, but also as far as, you know, the underground tanks and stuff like that. So, you know, I think the best way to do it is to have these gentlemen give the commission an overview and proceed from there.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Thank you. If you can just talk in the microphone, please.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm Eric Martell. This is Mike Scott. We work for Land Design Collaborative. He's our professional engineer.
Okay.
So I'm just here to give a rundown of the project. So our applicant we're representing is Mr. Frank Scavone. He currently resides on the property at 7 Kate Lane. He recently had an addition put onto that house where he's accommodating some extra family. So he needed the extra storage and some extra parking, which is why he has the proposed structure on the property at 9 Kate Lane, where he's currently in a purchase and sales agreement, so he doesn't own the property yet. He just wants to make sure that if he is going to purchase a property, that he can go forward and do the proposed work and get the building permit from the building commissioner at a later date. So he initially had a concept plan that showed some wetlands on the property when he decided to come approach us. So we had the wetlands on the property flagged by Northeast Ecological Services done on February 27th. They were survey located by Real Map Info at a later date, like in March. So that's how we got our line shown for the riverfront resource area and then the wetland buffer zone. So the proposed work that we have on 9 Kate Lane, there's about 20-foot about a 20-foot gap between our edge of limit of work to the buffer zone on that northeast side. And we are kind of close to the riverfront resource area there, but we show a erosion control barrier. I think it's about a foot off of that line to separate it. And yeah, so the goal of our RDA is just to verify that you guys are in agreement with the line shown and that the proposed work is outside of the jurisdictional areas.
And if you'd like, I can elaborate a little bit on the other aspects of the plan. This is going to be a 3-car or 3-bay garage for Mr. Scavone's vehicles, as Eric had mentioned. He resides next door, and they've just put an in-law apartment on there, so they need a little extra storage space. He wants to purchase the neighboring property and put this structure up. So there won't be any water or sewer to the building, but because it's a garage under state code, he needs a holding tank for floor drains. So we show a holding tank on the uphill or far side from the riverfront area. And we've also shown an underground propane tank that will be heated for the winter. It will have storage space in interior. We also show an irrigation well to the north of the property, north of the building, again, beyond the riverfront area. But as Eric had said, you know, he's in a PNS. He wants to make sure that the line is correct, and that you know, he can go forward with the purchase and then ultimately file for a building permit. He needs that confidence before he moves forward. So none of the work is within any of the jurisdictional areas. We actually pushed the building as far forward to the street as we could without getting into the jurisdictional area. We tried to respect that. And the driveway, everything else, you know, runs away from the riverfront area.
That tree line there, is that the current tree line, or is that the tree line that's proposed?
So the tree line that's the current tree line.
So you're not cutting down any trees or doing any kind of disturbance?
So from the point where you just passed to the right, that will be going along the erosion control barrier. Yep, that will be the new tree line running up the sheet. If you zoom out a little or pan up, the proposal is for that driveway to connect to the existing driveway. And then there'll be tree clearing on the opposite side of the driveway on 7 Kate Lane.
Okay. The driveway, is it going to be paved?
Yes, that's the intent. The driveway presently is paved.
Okay. Along the edges towards the east, it seems to kind of slope down quite a bit towards the road and then towards, down towards the riverfront area. Are you
Towards the
planning on
cul-de-sac.
doing anything to mitigate excessive rainfall, possibly eroding?
There's there'll be a shallow swale on the left side as it comes down. There's a catch basin in the cul-de-sac about 100 feet away. And then the rest of the area, and you can't see it because it's off the sheet, the other part of the driveway will come towards the building, and that's a fairly flat area to the north side of the building. So there'll be pervious area between the building and the driveway. But there's no proposal to do anything specific with the runoff from the driveway.
So this is the current state of it?
No, that's interior to the lot. That's the existing tree line that you see on the plan.
Well, how long has this been disturbed like that?
I don't know.
Is Mr. Scavone here?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. That's under the previous owner, from my understanding. Chief in-laws can testify that the previous owner, about 2 years ago, from my understanding, cut all those trees down.
Okay,
And as you can see, they're stacked up in a pile right there.
okay. So you haven't had this property for that long?
I am in a purchase and sale agreement.
Okay. So Dawn or to the team here, what am I looking at? What area is this? Is this the current proposed barn area, or is this part of where is this?
If you go back to the plan, that's the open area, the tree line that you, so
So that's right in that area?
essentially where the building would be going, correct.
Okay.
So the tree clearing would then occur to the left of that in the photo, towards the existing residence at 7 Kate Lane. The cutting would be to the left.
Dawn, can you go back to the map, please? Right next to Lot 8, I'm seeing the 100-foot buffer zone there.
Correct.
How come your 200-foot buffer zone for riverfront area doesn't wrap up?
Well, because the stream runs within the wetland, if you pan back down the stream flags, the bank flags, keep going.
So the wetland,
Yeah, the stream is farther down. So the bank is, along the stream is way down at the toe of the slope. And it's
Okay.
and so that wetland is kind of breaking out of the hill.
all right. Okay. Commissioners, any particular questions on this?
The only question I've got is stormwater. Are there any Cultex planned for this?
We haven't shown anything, but Frank is a plumber, so do you have a plan for the roof?
No, it's going to be, all, I mean,
So pitch down and do a crushed stone perimeter?
Yep.
So there could be a perimeter of crushed stone for infiltration. I don't think he has gutters proposed for the building.
Okay. This, obviously, you've skirted the 100-foot riverfront area and the 100-foot buffer zone, so this essentially isn't necessarily in our jurisdiction. So my proposal would be a good amount of, would be straw wattle and silt fence, obviously, but I'm still kind of a little bit concerned on potential erosion once you start pulling this apart. And if that driveway is not pitched accordingly, you're going to end up with all sorts of erosion trenches.
So the driveways would be in a cut situation, so that it's not going to go towards the neighboring lot. But yeah, he will need to stabilize the driveway with, there's already some riprap out there. I don't know if, Dawn, if you saw that when you were, yeah, there's the first 20 or 30 feet, whoever did the work out here has already put in roughly 20 or 30 feet of pretty large, like trap rock, I call it, 3 to 6 inch material. And clearly for construction, he's going to need something like that as well, which we could happy to make that a condition or add it to a plan and return it to you.
Well, here's the other angle of it. You've done an RDA, so we can't necessarily put any big conditions on this. So, and generally when someone's building something sizable like this, it really should be under an NOI so that we can condition it properly.
Well, if I may, I mean, you are allowed to put you can put conditions under a -3, but moreover, we cited the work outside the jurisdictional areas for 2 reasons. Obviously, it's easier for the applicant, but it's beneficial per the regulations. So conditions, I think, are warranted and certainly justifiable, but there's no work in a resource area, so we didn't feel there was a need to file a notice. And
No, but-
as Ms. Portman said, that was really the objective, was to demonstrate that we're beyond your limits of jurisdiction.
The only concern I have is in the lower right, lower left-hand corner of where the foundation of the garage is going to go, right up against your 200, is it a 200-foot?
Yeah, that's the
For the
riverfront area. We're
riverfront.
about 3 or 4 feet off, left room.
You know, traditionally with the excavation, it tends to creep when you're right there on that line. So my only concern would be on that corner, when you guys are going in to excavate for the foundation.
Yeah, and as you saw in the photos, the site is pretty flat. I mean, these are 1-foot contours, so it always looks steeper than it is. It could call for an additional row of barrier or something like that.
Yeah, I see it as you're right there at the 200 on that corner. You're 3 feet off that corner.
Yep.
When excavating at it, I mean, you know, excavations tend to be a foot beyond at least the width of what your foundation wall is.
Sure.
So.
I think the important thing, along with that, I think the important thing is that you stake this out, and then obviously, before you start any kind of excavation, you need to make sure that Dawn goes out and looks at it, and it's measured appropriately. And she should be able to, or anyone should be able to walk onto that site and see the driveway staked out, and then the four corners of the building, and it should be proven to the agent before any work is started.
That's a reasonable
That-
condition, and in fact, he'll have the building staked because he's pinched against the setbacks from a zoning perspective.
Yeah.
And we can have the erosion control barrier staked, we could have the 200-foot line staked, whatever,
Yes.
Whatever makes it easier for the commission to observe, and
And it's probably, I mean, it would probably be my recommendation that at least 2 feet on the sides of the driveway have some sort of riprap rock, just in case there's any kind of erosion. We get one of these 2-inch or 3-inch storms that drop in a half an hour. That's a lot of water flying down that now impervious area.
Yeah, or at least pitched into swales on the side.
Yeah. Any other input?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the applicant if he would consider putting in some wetland markers so that we can protect the riverfront long after you're gone.
Don, could you just bring us back to that plan? So are we thinking 2, 3? How many do we think?
I think I was in the 2-3 zone, because it seems like they've done all the work to figure out exactly where the riverfront area ends.
Yep.
And if it's marked out, then no one in the future is going to make the same mistake of cutting all the trees.
And does the town have a standard? Do you have a sign posted?
We have
or
a sign,
bit-
yep. You
Okay.
just need to purchase them through the agent. So what are we thinking, 3 signs?
I would actually more so, Joey, look at spacing
Okay.
rather than a quantity.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
point.
And I'd say on something like this, space it off of your closest point and then work outwards towards the street and towards the other property. But I think 50 feet should be, every 50 feet should be sufficient.
Agree.
3 at 50, 50 middle.
Well, no, at 50 feet from your closest point to the building, 50 feet away, and then every 50 feet thereafter. So whatever that quantity comes out to being based upon,
It looks like it's around 250 feet of line.
yes,
So
you're
maybe
probably
5 or
looking at
6
5 or
markers.
6 of them.
Yep.
Okay.
And these need to go in, and they need to they need to stay there perpetually.
We'll have them staked out and then be properly installed.
Okay.
Thank you. I
Anything
appreciate
else?
it.
Public.
Sure.
The question might be is, was the riverfront area cleared legally? I see it as the regulation came in August of '96, and we see some clearing and logs and stumps out there. I'm wondering if that scallop line down there was done by permit. We can take aerial flyovers and see how long ago those trees were removed. And to think that the footing is going to be dug for that foundation and not go into the riverfront area, I know I couldn't do it. So that's a real question, whether or not riverfront area should be restored. If the owner still owns it, whether Mr. Scavone buys it or not, it's still a violation of the regulation if that was recently cleared. It should be replanted if it's up, because that square footage would be over, whatever it's over. It's still not regular, it's not allowed. You can't work in the riverfront area without it. We had the chairman in Oxford, he had to resign about 10 years ago for getting a negative determination in the riverfront area. Because if you're in the riverfront area, then you need to go through an NOI. And that appears to be recent clearing. So I would recommend the site inspection. Thank you for my public comment and hearing it.
Commissioners?
Joey, I was going to, that was pretty much the area I was looking at, was the stability of that resource area. I didn't know from those pictures how much of that we were looking at, but if there's a stability issue, that should definitely be addressed.
I mean, he can certainly, assuming he purchases the property, he can certainly loam and seed that area or plant a few trees. I can't speak for the current owner, so I don't know what the history is, but.
Any other commissioners on getting some replantings back in there?
Well, I think the question is, should we be approaching the current owner about illegal clearing in the riverfront and restoration? It's really not the responsibility of a future owner.
Right,
It's
it
the
doesn't tie to this
responsibility
one.
of the current. So I would suggest that we should.
But that wouldn't tie to this RDA at this moment.
I'm sorry?
It wouldn't directly tie to this request for
Correct.
termination. That would be a separate issue that would have to get on the agenda to
Agreed.
be addressed.
Agreed.
Okay. So we can address the riverfront area on another matter. Okay. Any other input on this? Do we have a motion here?
Joey, do we want to sort of extend this until we had a site visit and more details on the nature of the current condition?
Can't do a site visit.
They don't own it, so we can't visit it. So, Rich, would you consider that we should continue this until we can contact the current owners?
Well, the bylaw, since it appears that there was a violation, does give us the right to go in and inspect.
Agreed.
But that's a different, that's not tied to
Entirely
this.
different matter.
But you would have to contact the current owners based on the riverfront concern.
What's the timetable on that purchase and sale except for June 5th?
June 5th would be our next meeting, but also, I mean, there's a 10-day waiting period after we make a decision, so.
I understand that. But we're clearly out of that zone, I understand that. The pictures show a violation.
They do, yep. And whether you did it or whether the owner did it, that needs to be rectified, but that should be a separate matter.
But as a commission, we would look to the owner when we found the problem and reported the problem and tried to fix the problem.
Well, I
So
would-
it
I would
seems
point
like
out-
if you're in the middle of a purchase and sale, you could end up with the problem.
Yeah, if the current owner doesn't fix it, the problem becomes your problem.
Correct, but you could issue a cease and desist on it, and now it's my problem.
Yeah, once you buy it, if we haven't gotten it resolved, then you would have to do the replantings.
Correct.
Whereas if we start this, we can see how far we can get with the current owner as far as getting them to resolve it.
Speak into the meter,
Sorry. Usually my voice drowns the sucker out. Anyway, I was just saying that before you purchase it, it's the current owner's problem. Once you purchase it, if it hasn't been resolved, then you would have to resolve it. And in the intervening time, it's possible that you could have a holdback for the cost of it set up as part of your purchase and sale. But that's not my field of expertise.
correct, but I would need a letter stating from the town that they're in violation and when that would be heard. I need
Yep.
Okay,
that would extend the purchase and sale.
direction on this? Comments?
If I may, if we look at these as two separate matters, and there's nothing either left to question on the scope of work for the, presuming he buys the property and maybe a problem, project, if you will, if that could be resolved, if you would then issue an enforcement order against the landowner, that probably helps Mr. Scavone.
Yeah, I think
Assuming that's necessary, again, I'm based on,
we're going to need to deal with the violation in a separate manner. We can't deal with this on this one. There's a filing before us, and if it's meeting the performance standards for what's skirting our jurisdiction, and they're before us, I mean. But I would probably recommend that we just ask our agent to consider sending correspondence or getting in touch with the owner for this, and we just put the violation on a future meeting. Any comments on that?
Yes, I think the commission should vote to contact the current owner and move forward with the riverfront issue. My only question is the rest of the commission satisfied that within 2 feet of the riverfront, construction can happen without deterioration?
I would be more, I mean, I would rather 5 feet off of there. That way, if you did have some creep, as Commissioner Brown had stated, but if that's the case, then,
we can certainly move the house away from the riverfront. We were trying to give him as much driveway as possible. So if we provide a revised plan with another few feet, moving the structure towards his property line.
yep,
So moving it that back corner 5 feet towards.
your structure is going to shift.
Towards your lot.
It's going to shift towards your lot, yep,
So we can do that. We were trying to give him all the room he could get.
okay. So with that, we're going to need a new plan that shows that, one that shows proper erosion controls, one that shows, you're going to need to have, is there a porta potty on that one? You're going to need to have a 30-gallon spill kit on site. You're going to need to call all of that stuff out on your plan. So if that stuff's not on the plan now, then we should,
If it's out of the wetland, we have no jurisdiction on it.
and it's
If
basic.
he revises the plan and pulls it 5 feet further away from the property line, we have no jurisdiction over what's on the plan. That then goes to planning and zoning for their approval on the build.
Well,
We can certainly add notes that proper construction, protections are available on site, additional silt fence and erosion control. That would be standard anyway.
Right.
But
In terms of passing the commission, that wouldn't impact what's shown on for the construction would not impact the wetland if it's completely out of the wetland area and out of the zone of concern. So if you guys move the building 5 feet further back, it should not have any wetland impact or recourse from us.
unless the stormwater is creeping there. This is all designed to make sure that you don't have an issue. That's the
the intent.
idea of putting these measures in place. So whether they're in planning and zoning has you do it, or we have you do it, there's going to be measures in place.
yeah, well, we can add we can move the building, and we can add a second row of erosion control barriers in that tight spot. We can certainly add notes. I think there are notes about maintaining adequate materials during construction.
Okay,
And everything will be hauled off, and it will be hauled off through the driveway. Nothing's going to be disposed of inside the riverfront. There's notes to that effect.
so, all right. Any other questions on this? So you're going to have to get us a new plan in order for us to close this out. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So, anything else? Nope. Okay. So can we get a motion to continue this until June 5th here at the Selectmen's Room?
Joey, I'll make the motion to continue 9 Kate Lane until June 5th.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Brown with the first, Commissioner Cirillo with the second, and I'm going to do a roll call, please. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, we'll see you on June 5th, and if there's any questions, please contact the Planning Department.
Yeah, we'll get
Okay.
a new department. All right, take care.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so 9 Kate Lane is continued. All right, we're on to our public hearings, notices of intent, also known as NOIs. First one up is 46 West Point Road. Mr. Berthium and I spoke. He's got a plan from Zach Gless, and it needs to come over to us. It has not come over to us. He's going to reach out to Zach. So he's asked for that to be continued. Can I get a motion of continuance on to June 5th?
I'll make the motion to continue 46 West Point Road to June 5th.
And I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Cirillo with the first, Commissioner Brown with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right. 27 South Point Road, this is the Palo project, raising an existing dwelling and constructing a new dwelling, including a seasonal dock. And we have, representation from Mr. Balsowitz. And Don, do we have an update on this project?
Yes, so last meeting, this project was continued due to the fact that we did not have a DEP number assigned. That was the only reason why there was not a vote taken. We did, at the time we published the agenda, the DEP number still was unavailable, had not been assigned. Since then, one has been assigned, so I have the letter from DEP here showing the DEP number, so that was the only thing that was missing the last time.
All right, so we discussed this at the last meeting, and we couldn't close it out due to a DEP number. We now have a DEP number. And Mr. Balsowitz, any last items?
Like, how about adding some plants so that DEP and I are happy?
Say that again?
How about adding some plants? I believe DEP's comments were that we could request plantings in the area between the water and the house, since it was such extensive development on the site.
Yeah, a couple shrubs or whatever, ornamental tree.
Okay, so do we want to just include that in the order
I
of
think we can
conditions?
put it in as an order of conditions.
Okay,
Do we
And
want
we
to
don't-
quantify for the
Yes.
order of conditions?
Yes.
We don't want perpetual trees.
Well, the recommendation is native plantings of various strata. So that implies not just a tree, but maybe something else.
Well, if I may say, if you look at the plan, where we're removing the driveway in front of the house, there'll be landscaped areas on each side of the front entrance? Or are you saying that you want them where the 55-gallon spill kit is?
Between the house and the water.
All right, and I remember on Black Point Road,
we're not repeating Black Point Road. We're not even discussing that because it's not even part of this, Steve. Let's just stick to this.
Yeah, but we don't want trees that have to be there all the time and can't die, and you have to replace them, perpetual. That was one
It
of the
may
conditions.
be that way.
Huh?
A tree is perpetual. It should stay there.
It should, but if it dies,
It
they
needs to be
shouldn't have to
replaced.
replace it if it lasts 2-3 years.
No, it needs to be replaced,
It needs to last.
because then we're just asking people to plant whatever size they want and then potentially taking it down, accidentally running it over with the lawnmower. Things happen. I've seen it.
How
So-
many trees or bushes would this board request?
Can we just bring up the plan so we can see how much space there is? Because I don't want to ruin the view. can't see it.
All right, so
I'm gonna come nice and close so I can
where would the
see.
board like to
Once more, that'd
see
be great.
additional plantings?
If I may say, you have the lower wall, which has wetland flag 3 along it. And then you got that wall, and then the next wall up. And then you have the wall there and the house. On which level would the board like the trees, or just give me a number
Well, I
and we
mean,
can
it doesn't
plant them
even
wherever?
necessarily be, a tree going in someone's site, a view. I mean, there needs to be some vegetation that comes back to the site instead of just nothing there. That's what the state is looking for.
Right, so
So-
they could be like low-growing shrubbery.
Yeah.
Or like perennial plants that, die down in the fall and come back in the spring.
Yes. So I think the closer to the water, the better, but since I don't know the family and how they're going to use their backyard, it could be on the secondary wall if they're planning to hang out by the water on the first wall. But I think in the range of 2 or 3 shrubs and some low-growing perennials, not
Yeah.
a tree, not something invasive,
All right.
but something big
Yeah,
enough to add life to the site.
I was going to say 2 to 3 shrubs and maybe 4 to 5 perennial flower
Yeah,
plants.
and I mean, it would be nice if a tree came back, so maybe something like a yellow birch off in the corner somewhere where it can come up and it likes that kind of,
Miss Chairman, as much as I'd like to see a tree put in there, my concern would be the root system that's going to put in behind these walls. So if a tree were to go in, I'd recommend the tree go in on the street side of the property and not on the wall side.
somewhere.
That-
One
that would
tree.
be the only thing I'd
one
ask to
tree,
put into
five-
the-
5 shrubs, I think, is 1 tree, 5 shrubs, and some perennial flowering plantings. We'll leave it up to them, but it's at least in the order of conditions that
So-
1 tree, 5 shrubs, and a plethora of plantings.
We need to quantify plethora,
So
though.
I'm
So-
going to suggest that the condition is that those shrubs and the plethora of plants go on the water side of the house and that they are native. And I don't-
Sounds good.
And perhaps we want some kind of follow-up with a planting plan post-construction
Yeah,
so that we know what happens.
So 5 shrubs
Post-certificate of
and,
compliance,
1 tree.
Pre-certificate of compliance.
oh, yeah, hang on,
post,
because you just said 5 shrubs and a plethora of.
post,
Construction.
Of native
Certificate of
plantings,
compliance,
but
you're right.
that can be bulbs of
So,
black-eyed Susans or
in the
whatever.
order of conditions, we're looking for 5 shrubs now, and then a plethora. So let's define plethora, so that when we go back to review this, we're not questioning what a plethora is, and Steve is not getting frustrated with us for saying you didn't plant enough. Would the board agree that a plethora would be 5, or would the board agree that it's 15?
How about greater than 5?
Greater than 5, but
Leave it to the
at a
homeowners.
minimum of
6.
5 at a minimum of perennial native plants. And
what-
then one
One
tree.
One tree. That's at least
And-
3 inches in caliper.
All right, so we have 1 tree, which can happen in the front of the house,
Yes.
3 inches in
5
caliper.
shrubs, and 5 perennial plants,
Minimum of 5.
minimum. All right.
Right.
So the shrubs and plantings are going to be native, as well as the tree. All native.
Yeah, if it looks ugly, you didn't plant enough.
Try quantifying that.
All right, so 1 3-inch in caliper tree, 5 shrubs, and how many native plantings do we?
Minimum of 5.
Minimum of 5. Okay, good. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. Okay, all right, so this is a public hearing, so
Joey,
the commission
Do we
has,
just want to confirm that those are in perpetuity?
those are in perpetuity. They should be
Yes.
in perpetuity. So when the order of conditions is created, make sure that that goes into the in perpetuity section. Don? Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Hayden and Michelle. Okay, so with that, if there is no other questions or comments, or feedback on this, I'm going to open it up for the public. Any abutters to 27 South Point Road? Public comment from the public? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Joey, I'll make the motion to close the public hearing on 27 South Point Road.
Okay. Commissioner
second.
Brown and Commissioner Cirillo with the second. And roll call for closing the public hearing. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Abstain.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. And we have a motion to issue orders of conditions.
Do we
I'll
have
make the motion to issue the order of conditions for 27 South Point Road.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Commissioner Cirillo with the first, Commissioner Brown with the second, and those orders will be as written, as amended earlier. Okay. So roll call, Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Abstain.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're now on 306 Killdeer Road. This is Michael and Roberta Compson. Work in a single-family home, and we just needed a DEP number and just a change in the narrative. So, Steve, you're on this one as well.
I believe the board's concern, we didn't have a DEP file number.
Correct.
That was one, we have that.
Do you have one now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. What's that number?
it's 323-1249. That one made the agenda. That one I received in time for the agenda.
Were there any comments from DEP on that?
I am not sure.
No, I have it here.
I don't think so.
I don't,
Don, you want to just pull it up?
Yeah, believe it or not, I came to the meeting and I received the notice, the issuance of a DEP file number like at 4 o'clock, 10 minutes of 4, which I was already gone from the office, but it had no comments.
I'm pretty sure there's nothing.
Oh, you don't have that one in the file? Oh, okay. Thought you had it in there like the other one. If I'd known you didn't have it in the file, I wouldn't have asked.
thank you. Okay. What's that? Yeah, no, it's fine. Thank you. All right. So
We're good-
verify
we're good,
that there
Dawn.
is a DEP number?
Yeah. Joey, there was no comments on it?
No.
Yeah, so we're good.
All right. So revision to the narrative.
I revised the narrative.
Okay.
I sent it electronically, and I have a hard copy for the board,
Okay.
taking out the last statement of resource area.
Yep.
Great. Commissioners, any comments on this?
No?
No.
All right. Okay. So hearing no further discussion or comments, I'm going to open this up for abutters for 306 Killdeer Road. Any particular questions or comments? 306 Killdeer Road. Butters. All right, hearing none, or no one coming forward, can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing on 306 Killdeer Road.
Okay, Commissioner Brown with the first,
I'll second.
Commissioner Cirillo with the second, and roll call on closing the public hearing. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Abstain.
Commissioner Bach?
Abstain.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes?
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Any discussion on the order of conditions before a motion to issue our standard order?
I don't think so.
Okay. Hearing no discussion on changing conditions, can I get a motion to issue our standard order of conditions for 306 Kildare Road, please?
I'll make the motion to issue the order of conditions for 306 Kildare Road.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Cirillo with the first, Commissioner Brown with the second, and a roll call on issuing orders of conditions for 306 Kildare. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Abstain?
Commissioner Bach?
Abstain.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Wigglesworth is yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, next up, we have an amendment here for 11 Bates Grove Road. This is DEP number 3231175. SunTrust LLC, Mike O'Brien, manager, amend and extend the order of conditions from 1 year installment of an in-ground swimming pool is the reason for amending.
Did we do the COVID check on this one? The COVID check.
Coded check?
COVID? The
Oh.
date?
Expiration.
Oh, you know what? No, I didn't, actually.
I didn't either, so that's why I was asking.
Let's pull up that calculator.
COVID calculator?
If
If I still have it.
correct,
Yeah.
it was anything that it had to be previous to March of 2020.
March 10th of 2020.
This NOI, it said it was 6/25/2020,
Yeah,
so that's after.
okay. So they're going to
But
come
I could
into
be-
expiration.
You know, I could be
Okay.
incorrect.
I didn't check it, so.
So
Yeah, I'm not-
25, 2020.
When you read it, Michelle, it's.
25.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so this wouldn't fall under the tolling.
Okay.
So,
I didn't check it,
yeah,
so I
so
wanted to make
we
sure
would,
somebody did.
yeah, so we'd need to discuss the extending the order of conditions for 1 year. It would be the same conditions, except for what would amend. So, all right, so Don, do you have an update as to where we're at with this amendment? Brief the board.
So this amendment, I went out, I took some pictures. You know, they're trying to put a pool into, well, the backyard. So they sent over an existing, and they sent over what they're looking to add to the site layout. I went out, I took pictures for the commission, and all the other information's in the filing and in the letter.
I could give you a brief description on, you know, what they're looking for, where the site is to date and all of that.
All right, any other comments, Don?
I can tell you, one of the commission members was looking for some additional information, which I have added. Some old photos of the project site has been added since I initially sent out the meeting materials. So I did add that, and I did add the, some additional, the NOI and the orders of conditions from the original.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Doherty?
Yes, Patrick Doherty, I'm a professional engineer with Midpoint Engineering and Consulting
Okay.
at 37 Sutton Road here in Webster, here on behalf of Sunset Trust. So, like it was said, an order of conditions was issued, I think it was on August 17th of 2020. It was shown as a generic house that was similar to two others that were proposed as part of this 3-lot subdivision of an existing property. At the time, there wasn't a prospective homeowner. They didn't start construction without a homeowner. There is a buyer for the home now. They hired an architect, so the building foundation has been tweaked, but it's very similar to what was approved. The grading, everything else is similar to what was approved. It's I guess a walkout with the lower level towards the lake. They do wish to construct a pool It would be I would guess more of a wading pool. It would be 4 foot deep to 5 foot deep, sloping down towards the bottom drain would be. In order to accommodate the pool, we moved the building with a similar footprint closer to the road by about 12 feet. At the time, that required a variance because the zoning bylaw has just recently been amended. There was some funny language in the Lake District regarding setback from the front yard setback. So we did go through that process. A building permit was issued on a plan that I had removed the pool on, knowing that was not part of the previous order of conditions with the intent of coming before you in the future, what is now. So, like I said, the grading, the footprint of the home is very similar. It's closer to the street. A pool would be constructed between the home and the lake. There would still be about a 44-foot setback from the pool. I think you've got all the black and white drawings. I did print out the site plan showing on an aerial in the proposed color, just so you can see the difference, so I can kind of show you guys. So on the left would be my left, would be the plan as was approved in 2020. On my right would be the plan showing the home. So you can see it's kind of in line. It's a little bit ahead of the homes adjacent, but it's close. I mean, there's a large setback between the pool and the lake. There were some questions. I don't have that list in front on the pool itself. Like I said, the depth would be between 4 and 5 feet. It slopes down to a drain. It's a saltwater pool requiring less maintenance, I would say. The filter is going to be a cartridge filter. It does not require backwash. I don't know I think I sent you an answer to the specific questions. Okay. And if you know offhand if there were any questions on that, but there is a pool contractor involved, so this is how it's going to be built. And I guess with that, I'd answer any other questions from the board. Regarding the extension, Don had brought it to my attention that this order would expire 3 years, or this coming August. It looks like the complete construction is going to go on into the fall, but certainly by the end of the year, they hope to occupy the building with all the landscape and everything involved. So, I requested an extension for 1 year. I don't think we'll need the full year, but just so I wouldn't be coming back to the board, I requested a 1 year.
All right, thank you, Mr. Doherty. So this pool is sitting just about, I don't know, about the 42, 43.
I think I had 44
Is
feet
that
from
what
the
it is?
coping to the lake.
So it is, I mean, this is unlike one we've seen in the past where it's up on a hillside. It's extremely flat there. And as a commission more than likely will remember, there was one large mansion on this, an old mansion on this site, and it was bought and rezoned and divvied up into 3 lots. So this is the last lot that's getting developed. And like I said, it is pretty flat there, and this is setback. I mean, with the installation of the pool there, I mean, obviously, there's got to be some measures for, I mean, we don't want this thing to fail, obviously. And out of curiosity, has any kind of checking to see where the water table is been done?
Yes, Don had said that question may come up, so we did do a test pit. I logged it on the second sheet, which is the grading sheet.
Okay.
Go to the next sheet. But basically, the bottom of the pool will be about 8 inches higher than the groundwater on the day I tested it, which was in May, right after the rainstorms. At the time, the lake was about 8 inches higher than I guess, the normal lake elevation.
Okay.
So, I expect that, when this gets constructed, sometime in June, that there'll be more than 8 inches to the bottom of that pool. The gravels it's very conducive to drainage. It's medium to coarse gravel.
Yep.
If they did need to pump temporarily, I would expect they would just, dig a hole outside of the footprint of the pool, and the pumping, would keep up so they could get their work done if they're putting stone or whatnot under the pool. But I don't see that they would be pumping into the lake, or they wouldn't be doing that anyways, or, into a storm drain or anything like that. This soil is very conducive to working.
Okay. So, with regard to finalizing after the pool is in, depending upon how we vote tonight on this, what kind of vegetation, revegetating this area is what is it gonna look like?
Before we talk about vegetation, what's going around the pool? Do we have a deck going around the pool? Do we have
So this is,
concrete?
this is an in-ground pool.
Yep.
I showed on the plan, and I can kind of point it out easier in here. So, I can get closer if you need me to be. So, underneath the deck is going to be a patio and two large doors. It's going to be more of an entertaining area in the basement level. You'd walk out to a concrete patio area that wraps the core of the pool, and then this area would be fenced in. So, we expect the entertaining area for the pool just to be in here. It's not an overly large pool.
So they're not going with concrete all the way around the perimeter of the
All
pool?
the way around the pool.
So what's going around the edges of the perimeter of the pool? Is that going to be gravel?
There'll be an 18-inch coping, and we would expect a gravel border outside of that and between the pool and the wall. And then it would be all grass other than that.
Okay.
So,
I'd expect as well, we didn't show it on the plan, and, if you want to, there is going to be planting beds, probably against the wall. If that was going to be the next question that comes up, we could accommodate some shrubs and perennials and.
Towards the water, but obviously, we've got questions, so do you want to take this
How does-
entire conversation?
Yes, I do. I have a lot of
Go ahead.
questions on this one. So what's the size of this proposed patio beyond the extension of what was already proposed with the house underneath where the walkout is?
As far as square footage?
Yep.
So I did have calculations on what was proposed before and what is there now. We had
37.
So there was, before we started construction, it was 3,571 square feet of impervious. What was approved,
If there is public discussion, could we please, could I ask you to either keep it down or step outside, please? It's very, you're interrupting.
so before construction started, there was a driveway and such associated with the former home. That accounted to 3,571 square feet. The proposal for the original order was 5,056 square feet. Now, sorry about that. So the original order allowed for 4,221 square feet of impervious, and now we would be looking at 5,056 for a total increase of about 830. I did my math right. The reason being, the driveway got a lot shorter when we shifted the house, and that's where that difference is. And, obviously, I guess the asphalt impervious is probably more concerning than the concrete or the roof, so we took away asphalt and it would be replaced by the concrete and the surface of the pool.
Additional questions, Commissioner Brown?
You guys are looking at putting in a wall now, I heard?
The wall is pretty much shown, as shown on the original plan.
Okay.
Yes, it's a walkout, the home to the, I guess it would be west, right? Yeah, the home to the, I guess on this plan, to my left is much higher in elevation. The two homes that were constructed as part of the lot are pretty much the same. So there's a wall going off of the house and along the property line. Yeah.
So that wall is now going to be another 12 feet longer, or?
It's, no,
Or did that wall not exist
it
along
ends
the
about the
property line?
same, yeah. It's pretty close to what was there,
Okay.
yeah. And then there's another small wall between the two homes to allow for the step down to the foundation.
Okay.
Anything else?
Those were my questions, Joey.
All right. Anyone else with questions? Anything else?
After we're done going through the plan, I want to look at some pictures, so I don't want to get us away from the plan.
Okay. So with regard to plantings and whatnot, we're going to need to see some vegetation coming back here, not just a lawn that goes right down to the water.
Well, I would offer that the plan that was approved had 2 trees between the
Yeah.
home and the lake. That's remaining.
Yeah.
I didn't add anything other than that, because that was what the plan was approved. The owner is going to have a very nice yard, and they are going to have some vegetation in the back. You know, if we could, it'll be done by landscape. If we could do it by a specification, maybe, you know, similar to what you did at the,
Well, before we
hearing
had
before
just
that.
lawns, so now we've got X amount of square feet that's going to impervious back here. So we need to balance that out and have some vegetation come in here, and we can work that out. But I want to just make sure that anything regarding the pool is addressed. And Hayden, you had good questions. Anyone else with specific questions?
Where's the stormwater? I just don't see it.
it'd be on the next page down on the grading plan. So, we had proposed a chamber system between the home and the road, to capture the roof gutters in
Okay.
So I think as far as planting is concerned, we're more concerned with what's out back, around the pool,
Yeah,
the
we
new
need to have
patio.
that enhanced. Yeah, there needs to be enhanced plantings going on here.
Agreed.
So, I mean,
And I can't say, you know, we'd prefer a spec, because if stuff gets overgrown and they want to change out a species, you know, either square footage of beds or number of plants would be our preference in whether they be native rather than, you know, 5, you know, of this and 2 of these of, if that could be done, it would be preferable.
so how do we want to handle a planting plan? Do we want them to come back to us for a planting plan? Or do we want to just say you need to plant X amount of shrubs and we're looking for natives and any kind of other cultivars that,
I think I'd like to see them come up with a planting plan, because basically, with the changes, you've raised the stormwater about 70 cubic feet, is how much additional storage you would need. Now, if you're putting in planting beds, they could actually calculate out rough water use, you know, like rain gardens.
But my only hesitation is especially in residential, is that if someone wants to change out a species, you're not in compliance now, and it could be.
If you're looking at a rain garden,
Yeah,
basically you're looking for a storage capacity in square feet. So whether you have something like a Stella D'Oro in there or something else,
Yeah.
it's going to use roughly the same amount of water, so it's still going to function as a, function to help get some of that water out of there.
yeah. You know, or I guess, or you know, one thing I may add as an engineer, you know, the concrete, the new concrete, probably more square footage than the additional is, could be graded over to the grass area, and we could put a yard drain in with stone under it, or a chamber.
Yep.
You know, rather than a rain garden that requires a lot more maintenance than just a regular planted bed.
Actually, you probably have Cultex on the plan, on the original.
We do in the
plan.
front, yeah, but in the back, we could grade that concrete area to a nice area with stone.
So as far as the back is concerned, I don't think we should advocate adding stone and, you know, something else. Since we're conservation, we'd like to see
Right.
greenery.
And I don't mean that we're not gonna not put greenery in. I'm just concerned of being not in compliance if a homeowner wants to swap out a shrub. So I'd prefer a spec of, you know, so many plants, you know, types of plants, so that, if you change out one bush to another, you're not in compliance any longer. And I know that it's unlikely that there would be issues taken, but it's just from a plan perspective. On commercial projects, yeah, I have no problem with, specifying all the different plants and whatnot, but, because they generally don't change things out. But residential,
Okay.
see people
So
changing.
how do we want to handle the planting? Do we want them to come back to us with a planting plan and give them a minimum amount of plantings that we're looking to see come back? And they can work it in for gardens?
Hire a landscaper, right?
Yes.
So I would think the landscaper could,
Yeah, but it's not going to be done till the end, and they're going to go out and visually see the beds and do it. And that's how I expect this to be done in the residential. We're talking very small area here. It's to even come up with a plan.
What's the length of that pool, the
It's
longest?
16 by 32.
32.
that's good size.
So, I mean, to me, the plantings, I would just request that they come off of the native plantings list. That would be my request, and the
Yeah.
homeowner could pick any of the native plantings on that list, and that's available on the town's website. And they can discuss that with their landscaper, and then we could, when you guys come back with a planting plan, we can quantify, X amount of shrubs, X amount of perennials, if the board decided they wanted additional trees, whatever, the homeowner could pick them off of the native planting list.
Right, and I guess just, their plan was to have the landscaper come in, when the site was prepared, the pool was in, the walls were in, so that they would have a better idea how the final is going to look in their eyes. It's very hard for a homeowner to judge unless you do a whole lot of work and expensive, renderings and whatnot, where, there's a very small area. It would, if we could do similar to the previous application and do, a number and picked off the native species list, I'd be more comfortable with that, or even the location, specify the location being, against the retaining wall, or.
We're not going to dive deep into the project and start muscling in on where things should go. We want shrubs, we want plants, it should be as close to the water for infiltration and for stormwater.
Just say that we would not issue a COC without an approved planting plan.
Yeah.
As
So-
a guide, if it's 32 feet long, 2 feet deep,
Mm-hmm.
so if we were to give some guidance as far as, say, 64 square feet of planting beds,
Yep.
that'd be reasonable. I'm just throwing it out there. He's looking for guidance. We say
Yeah, I
64
think
square
that
feet of
that's-
planting
Yeah,
beds.
and then just,
Let the homeowner decide how that happens
Yeah.
and develop a planting scheme around that.
a majority of them need to be, I mean, it's all right to start weeding some things in that are not necessarily native here, but, because that's starting to adjust quite a bit with our climate situation. But we'd like to see native plantings as much as possible. Is that
Native.
native?
Yeah, no, absolutely,
native.
yeah. Mhm.
So why don't we volley it back to you that you come back, you have X amount of square feet, and you come back to us with a plan, and we'll review it, and we'll make comments, and then away you go.
Okay, yeah, they were just hoping to continue on the work and get the site all buttoned up, so that's why
But,
the spec would be better.
Mr. Chairman, you're actually saying, as an order of condition, we would expect a planting plan prior to the certificate of compliance.
yeah, that would be-
So we
that would-
wouldn't
Okay.
stop the project from
Yeah, we're
moving
not- yeah,
forward.
we're not looking to
Okay,
stop the project.
all right, I
no.
thought it was
But
That's what I
it's,
thought you thought.
based on the pictures, you're obviously in transit here. So the pool's going to go in, and, everything around it, you're going to have to shore that up, and as the final piece, you're going to want to put it together with plantings
Yep,
and whatnot.
absolutely.
So, and if the developer or the landscape architect wants to come back and talk with us, they can do that.
Okay,
Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Okay.
all right, great.
All right. You have questions, Glenn?
A comment,
Yeah,
not so much a question.
yeah.
If I could, if you can hear me, It heard that the order of conditions was issued, at least it showed on the board, at 8/17/20.
Yeah,
And if that's the case, then this permit is good until 11 or November of '24. As it was in existence between 3/20 and 6/21, which is the governor's COVID emergency. In that 462 days, everyone has it on their order. We went to the Attorney General's office,
yeah,
Environmental Division, to clarify for the town of Sturbridge this exact point. And in fact, Leicester, we had to clarify it for DEP because they had it wrong. Me and McDonald being fresh and green.
so,
That said that you have to go through the town clerk if you had a bylaw to
Yeah.
get the 462. Well,
Uh-huh.
we had that cleared up by the attorneys also. So all permits that were existing during the time of the COVID emergency, bylaw, zoning,
Yeah,
conservation,
yeah.
planning board, everybody's got the 462. And it was similar to that emergency law which went before years 2 and 2, when the economic downturn occurred, that we had those extra years. Because of that problem where people were in their basement on this case.
yeah,
So he's good for till November of '24, and I just let Mr. O'Brien know through text.
okay. Thanks,
You know, I'm
Glenn.
okay if it's statutory, then, I could remove that request.
Any questions or comments, folks?
Do you have any questions about the installation of the fence around the pool?
Well, yeah, I mean, you are going to need a fence around the pool,
Yeah, so
so,
what I showed is following the top of the retaining wall, coming around a 4-foot, it's going to be a 4-foot powder-coated decorative, where the ones, not a chain link, but it's going to be the more decorative
all
fence.
right, so you're going to have that up for at least a minimum of 4 inches on the bottom?
Yes.
4 to
yes.
6 inches, so that wildlife can pass through? Okay.
Be able to cut the grass
Any
better,
other
too.
questions on that? All right. Thank you for pointing that out, Commissioner Sharon. If there are no other,
Can you just repeat what you just said about the height of the fence?
yeah, it should be 4 to 6 inches for wildlife passage to meet the,
Do we want wildlife passage into a saltwater pool?
you need to still have it raised. You can't block for wildlife. A fence that's in our jurisdiction should be up at least 4 to 6 inches so that anything can pass underneath it. Fences are exempt, but they need to fit that criteria of having the bottom lifted anyway. And I think it could be a building regulation too. I don't know, but it needs to have the bottom raised.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Other than if we're trying to protect wildlife, I'm not so sure we're doing a service.
Yeah, especially
No,
since it's a small fence.
No, I know, but we need to make sure that fences are allowed within the jurisdiction. They are exempt, provided that you can, it's specifically laid out, specifically that they do not obstruct wildlife passage. It's in the regs.
But when you said 4 to 6 inches, you were talking about the height of the fence.
The height of the fence on the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah, if they may have, even if these vertical
Right,
fences
so
were
if
down,
we-
there's still a 4-inch gap to get
But what
through.
if it's 4 to 6 inches gap
on the bottom, yeah, a standard gap on the bottom of fence.
vertically? Any of the slats?
Well, can a
I
turtle
don't-
go over something?
So like an aluminum fence?
No, but a duck couldn't go through a fence,
Right. I
but it could go under the fence.
Right. And they've got to be able to.
In all
balance.
actuality, whatever goes there, it's going to go around. So it just needs to make sure that we've got the bottom lifted for anything to go underneath it. It's in the regs. Any other discussion?
So, yes, if we're done with the plan, can we talk about some pictures?
Sure.
Okay, so can we just point out where the limit of work here is in the backyard? I know on the older plan, it actually says limit of work, but I don't see anything so obvious on this plan.
Yeah, it would be,
I think it was behind the 25-foot somewhere.
it would be on the first plan.
Dawn, can we bring up the old plan? Because I think it was very obvious on the old plan where the limit of work is. Because I think it had little, like, rectangles on the left-hand side
yeah.
showing the limit of work.
I had, the limit of work was shown at, first let me explain that the surveyor who did the subdivision and did the survey came up with a property line that was about 30 foot from the lake. Since that time, there's been two court decisions that have stated that the property line, if it's, and one of the decisions was on Webster Lake, if it's not coincident with the shoreline, then your property line gets extended up to the shoreline. So where I had the limit of work was shown on the property line behind the NBZ, it was because at the time we thought the property line was further away from the lake.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand that. So,
if you look at the property line on the plan
Yeah.
that was approved in 2020, the property line comes up for the 3 lots, goes there, and then
Yep.
the lake shore is here.
Yep,
So not having this part of the surveyed property line, I put the limited disturbance on that property line.
okay,
It ended up being before the 25, or after, further than the 25-foot no disturbance line.
right.
Since the court cases have been up, the property line is extended, to the shoreline. So, the limit of work would at the same time, we had it at the property line.
Oh, okay. So I think what you're saying is, because you believe now that the property, this homeowner gets more property because of some court case, the limit of work goes to the shore.
That's what we had proposed, and it is, it's not we don't think, it is, I spoke with the surveyor, and he said, yes, it is coincident.
I don't particularly care about the property line piece.
Okay.
But in the previous iteration of this plan, there's a limit of work that's significantly back from the shore. And if you look at the pictures, they've cleared almost to the shore.
I
My concern is
I think I remember
over-clearing.
us talking about this, and there was a significant amount of invasives that were going to come out along the property line.
That's correct. I think there was a site visit way back when they put the erosion controls in before they started excavation.
I'm just concerned, it's a big raw site that goes right to the shore.
Okay?
And there was a limit of work outlined in the previous iteration of the plan that was clearly back from the shore.
And if I recall, it was at the locations of the erosion controls were established at the pre-construction meeting.
So we're doing construction right up to the edge of the water. So there's no construction proposed to the water's edge, so I think that
It would be
we
restored.
need restoration sooner rather than later.
And that's
I mean,
part
I
of,
don't know why it
Yeah,
was
right there,
cleared.
see all of that?
yeah, part of what we're
invasive.
trying to do is get mobilized back on there. And once we stabilize the site, put the walls in, we won't have the ability to get any equipment in to do the pool. So the excavator for the pool is also going to finish off the site, and that's when all of the loam and the seeding would be done at the same time.
But my concern is the same at every construction site. If you put the erosion controls at the shore, people are going to drive machinery to the shore. And there is no reason for anyone to be down that close to the water
I think there was
because you're
yeah.
constructing back more than 25 feet.
I think there were invasives and other nuisance vegetation that we had to strip that area.
And I'm not aware of how that happened. I didn't see anything that followed or explained any of that. But if that were the case, we would expect the removal of invasives to happen and restoration to happen. So I think something has to be corrected on this site, and we can't just leave dirt
No, I
for
think
another
we're
year.
gonna, yeah, we're gonna establish a lawn there as soon as the pool is in, is what the plan is.
I mean, there is essentially no BVW there, with the exception of that small corner. Everything else is just grass going right to a naturalized shoreline. So it's not like there was a ton of
Yeah.
vegetation with the exception of this corner, which we can't even tell what plants are in there because it's so riddled with
I'd say that
invasives.
this was all discussed at the pre-construction, and that's how we got to where we're at. The
Do we-
erosion controls were put in, we stripped the soil as part of our landscaping and pool construction. This loam's gonna go back, it's gonna be turned into lawn.
And at
We
that-
don't want a
I would
lawn
say-
right up to the shore either.
I mean, that's how it
Once
was
they- Once they're
before.
doing the restoration, they can then pull the, what do you call it, the silt fence in
Yeah, so
to
before,
a more reasonable level.
I would recommend on this,
and before
in part of
construction even
this
started here,
amendment-
if you were there was a home there was a boat ramp that extended into the water. and
that
there
was on
lawn
the,
everywhere
that was on the
else.
right side.
Yeah.
That was all
No, but
on
I'm
the
saying
right
on
side.
the property itself, but the rest of it was all lawn to the shore. And then being vacant, the vases came in.
So I think it's probably prudent that, I mean, it's already, the lawn has been taken out, it's been regraded, which could be part of the project, but Mary walked this site with the developer, so we don't know where she set up the erosion control at this point. But, given your concern, I would strongly suggest maybe that corner be an area that you enhance vegetation on. And with part of this amendment, maybe we should revisit that the limit of work and reestablish the limit of work. Because it's clearly, it's been taken down and it's all the way at the shoreline and it doesn't need to be that far. So, especially with the house is now done. There's going to be a machine in there to take the pool out. There's no reason why you need all of that room in the back there to go right to the water. That is a little excessive. So I would say let's kick that back a good 20, I think that could come back 20 feet.
So you want the erosion control line to go back 20 feet, then put the loam and the
Yeah,
seed in?
Don, can you bring up the plot plan again?
The new one or the?
The new one, so we can see where the pool is and how much room there is for,
The pool is
Getting-
back well behind the 25.
yeah, so, let's consider putting that erosion control right around the 30. I think 30 is, because if the pool is going in at about 42, 44, 43, right around there, an extra 10 feet for construction equipment to get in there, I think is that's enough room. Anyone else?
I would
I'm
agree with that.
just trying to figure out what's at that line.
That's the defined property bound from the original, the dark line?
Yes.
That's the original defined property bound?
Okay.
And then you're showing it extended out to the shoreline, correct?
Correct, with the
Yep.
dashed line.
Oh, got it.
Based on the pictures.
Well, no, that's what
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Michelle was looking
Yeah,
for, was
yeah.
what the dark solid line was.
Yes, I was trying to figure that out.
All right, so moving, so a couple of things here. Obviously, we've got the pool, and obviously, we need to make sure that the erosion control gets scooted in to the 30-foot mark, and the developer should provide photographs to the agent, or the agent needs to be called when that's put back in at the 30-foot mark.
Okay.
We need to,
The question I'm going to ask on
Yeah.
that is, should the existing straw wattle and
I would say not until
Line.
anything's stabilized there.
remain
I would
in
leave
place
that there,
until
just
things are
put in,
stabilized?
just move put in a new one, yeah.
Yeah, if we take the other one out anyway,
is
until
better
it's
than
stabilized, you
That's,
you
okay,
gotta-
because you were saying to move, and I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, we can keep it there or move it. It's all gonna get fixed anyway eventually, so.
So do we know
Stabilized.
what's on the other side of that erosion control?
What's that?
Can we look at the picture again and see what's on the other side of the erosion control?
From the other angle?
It's natural, right? That's kind of,
Yeah, that's natural, looks like right at
Natural.
right at the shore.
yeah. And where is that water right there in the picture?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I guess my question to the commission is, what do we expect to happen between that 30 feet, say the 30-foot erosion control boundary and this little greenery area long-term? Are we
So,
okay with a lawn?
I think it's lawn in the other two homes, and it was lawn before this project started. And we would
I don't
want
have a
lawn.
picture to show me what it looked like before.
But the fact of the matter is, it's in a redevelopment, so, and clearly the excavator has gone closer to the water than what we would really like. So I would just urge that the plantings, maybe there's a buffer zone bed that goes along the back there. I would prefer to see that. Some sort of plantings that enhance that buffer area right along the lake.
For nutrient absorption.
Yeah.
and then I saw that there was a pile of what looks like concrete and rocks.
I think that was stone, either from excavation or for the stone walls that they're building.
Okay, so is that going to be removed? Because that's currently within that 30,
Yeah.
that 30-foot area that they're looking
Yeah.
to reclaim, and,
Yeah, I'm very sure that that is material to build the stone walls. So it's, I mean, everything is happening here, in a short amount of time.
right, but that material
That
is
looks-
within
yeah.
that 30 feet of where,
That's got to get out of there. There shouldn't be
It's
anything
too close to the
piled
water.
towards the back. That's got to be out of there. So that would be a special condition that's got to get.
get moved up towards
That
the
looks
house.
like it's part of the staircase that was somewhere on this property, and they just demoed it and
Right,
stuck it there.
It looks like it's left.
It's far away. It's out of it's out of sight, out of mind.
If it's,
It's not going to remain, either it's going to be used for the wall or it's going off-site. I thought it was stone the last time I was, actually
yeah,
rode by in
that
my
needs
boat.
to be removed before
Yeah.
the next layer of straw wattle's put in. That needs to be completely pulled out of there. Because that implies that there's work between the shoreline and the new bound.
All right, anything else? All right, so can we get a motion to,
Yes, I do. Can you go back to the original plan? It looked like there was 2 trees that are now gone.
yeah, they had to remove them in order to put the house in.
Yeah, but it looked like the original plan that they were planning to stay.
No, there were two
They're sitting right with
proposed.
them.
There was one to remove. We were removing some trees, and then as part of the finished
Okay,
product, we
those are
were adding to.
proposed.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and those would
So
remain.
you're going to still put 2 on the shore side, and then you're
Correct.
talking 2 as well on the street side?
Correct.
Okay, because when we talked earlier, you said only 2 on the street side.
Oh, no, I meant this shore side.
And is this one of those sites that was supposed to maintain natural vegetation?
I don't remember, I need to look at the minutes.
The rule is new construction? Is that rule from zoning new construction, or
Actually, yeah, it is new construction, yeah, so, but.
there's
we
nothing
put-
there?
No, but we approved this with knowing that this is gonna end up being redeveloped like this. But, given that, there needs to be some, I mean, this is another point where there needs to be some canopy and plantings that come back to naturalize this at least 40%. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
This needs to be naturalized 40%, because it's new construction.
Okay.
So do we capture that in a condition?
I think it's a good idea to capture that in the condition. It's a point that's raised, and I think it's a fair thing to determine. I mean, you know, you need to come back with at least 40% of vegetation on this property. You're gonna have to find a way to put it. And it really should be enhanced in the back, based on the stormwater bylaw.
I wasn't aware of that condition when we went through it the first time. I'll have to review that, but if that's a requirement, we'd have to either meet it or, you know, seek relief.
All right, any other comments, good points? Anything else? No? All right, so can we get a motion to amend the order for 11 Bates Grove Road, installation of a in-ground swimming pool? We discussed the plantings, as far as plantings in the back, debris to be removed anywhere in the lakeside,
We get the
and
erosion
new
control.
erosion sediment control should be set up at the 30. And once those are done, which they should be done right away, I will contact the agent. The agent can verify that. And then, once you get to a planting plan, the landscape architect should reach out to us,
Okay.
or the builder.
And in the condition, we're going to prescribe an amount of planting by the water, and I believe Rich proposed an amount near the pool,
Yeah.
Right.
right? Okay.
Yeah,
I
there
just
needs
want to
to
make sure I
be-
understand the conditions.
What were those plantings by the water, and what were the quantity by the pool? Did we define those? I know we talked about them.
60
I
square
tried to say
feet.
60 because it was 30, so I went 30
Yeah.
by 2 for planting beds. And then
Yeah.
the water's different, and I think
Right.
we should consider nutrient absorption and that sort of thing. It's a little bit different characteristic that we're looking for there.
Okay, so along the shoreline, how many native shrubbery
You could-
plantings would we be looking for?
I mean, you could probably fit in there at least a mix of at least 25 in there. I mean, that's a pretty long expanse, and it's pretty wide. I think 30 would be an ideal number, and have them worked in there and, you know,
Yep.
enhance that area.
The key is just not to have fertilization right up to the water.
Absolutely.
Right, so that's
Yeah.
what we're looking for
Yep.
mostly, so it doesn't even have to be,
There should be no fertilization.
but if you have
That's the
grass,
hardest thing
you
to
can
police.
assume People are going to.
It's
So-
actually a perpetual condition that
So-
doesn't allow fertilization.
In the revised order of condition, what is that setback from the shoreline for those plantings that no lawn is to be put in? Do we want to define what that width is?
Well,
For
we
no
don't-
lawn?
Well, this is cleared up to about less than 5 inches in some spots, I think.
Right,
So, I mean,
From that bound,
yeah,
how far back? do we
you know,
wanna
I
set
mean,
it
you could,
For naturalized
yeah, I mean, you
planting?
could sprinkle in button bush, low bush blueberry, high bush blueberry, all
I
sorts of
mean,
stuff
that-
in
I
there.
mean,
Minimum of 6 feet of, 10
Yeah.
feet of planting bed
Yeah,
along the shoreline?
yep,
Or naturalization,
yeah.
non-lawn.
No, yeah, no
Nat-
lawn.
Naturalized, non-lawn plantings along the shoreline, minimum of 10-foot
I mean, this was
setback.
lawn before. I don't think that the homeowners intended to
And
have
no mulch.
anything blocked.
No mulch.
You know, the homes
That
next
needs to be
door
a
were allowed to
condition,
have
no
lawn.
mulch near the
No
water.
mulch and no stone.
Yeah. Yeah. All right,
Or
anything, all right, any other input in this?
No.
All right, hearing none, can we get a motion on 11 Bates Grove Road?
Did we close the public hearing?
What's that?
Oh, no, public hearing, sorry.
No.
I'll make the motion for, to issue an order of conditions for 11 Bates Grove Road.
Amended order of condition.
Oh, I apologize, amended order of conditions for 11 Bates Grove Road.
I'll second that.
All right, so Commissioner Cirillo with the amended order, and as Mr. Kravosky, the minutes can reflect, has given background on the one-year extension, so this project will be covered for another year. So, Commissioner Cirillo with the first, Commissioner Brown with the second, and a roll call, Commissioner Cirillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon,
Yes.
Commissioner Bach,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
and Wigglesworth is a yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we
All right.
take 5?
What's that?
Can we take 5?
Yes, we're just going to take a 5-minute bio break.
I think we have to leave those on still.
Sorry, I don't know why I came this way. Just wanted to say hi.
Okay. Joey, quick question for you. This new construction idea where, is it a town statute where naturalization needs to be 40%? It's a town statute by law? Okay. Another question. Where does this fence, you mentioned it was a statute or a reg, where does that exist?
It's in 310 CMR 10.
It's a mass?
Massachusetts wetland regulation.
Okay, okay. I'll find it. I just wanted to know where it was.
I'll have to send it to you.
I'll find it. As long as I know where to look.
Still alive. I can do those 2 dates.
Okay.
What happened with 9 Wakefield before I came? Were they here? No. Okay.
Accidentally voted on one that I shouldn't have because I wasn't here. So I asked Michelle, and she said, don't. You're supposed to vote anyway.
She said, don't worry about it, but
That house went up.
Right. I go
That house
both
wasn't
ways
up in
when
the
it comes to
fall.
the fence. It's like,
When I took the
part
vote
of
out.
it is like, you gotta protect the wildlife too sometimes. And we build walls all the time, which is, you know, a bigger barrier than a fence, but we allow that.
Section 2, Section B.
Okay.
Maybe it's because a wall is more natural and a fence is, it's a good point though. He said we build stone walls all the time, they can't get through the walls. But. But the same ducks can fly in the pool if they want to. Imagine having a saltwater pool on the lake.
So is that a recent one you're talking about that would have impacted
It's not something I really
that code issue that we heard so much about? Is that code? Okay.
They built that house so quick. Like it wasn't there in the fall. The lot was still, had that staircase and everything. And now the house is all built in.
Yeah. because of the additive of, say, Joe, do you know what case, that recent court case he was talking about is? Okay.
All right, folks, all set?
Yes, thank you.
Tracy and Don, you're all set? Microphones back on? Okay, so next up, we're on to our action items. So we have approval of a planting plan under the special order of conditions issued for 14 Bates Point Crossing. This is the Garabedian project. DEP number 323-1228. Mr. Garabedian, how you doing?
Good afternoon, good evening. How are you,
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman? It's
All
my
right.
daughter Leah Garabedian.
Hi, nice to
You
have
want me
you.
to bring her up? She wants me to tell you that she was president of her environmental class.
All right.
Very nice. Well, if you're 18, we have alternate positions available, so. All right, so you've submitted some planting plan documents, and I think Don has loaded them onto the screen for us to see here.
I just want to chime in. So one of the commission members had questions in regards to this property, and I'm trying to log into my computer because 2 of the photos did not get reloaded, but I do have most of them.
Okay.
So Mr. Garabedian contacted me due to his order of conditions. As you can see, I highlighted it, that he needed to submit a planting plan to be approved by the commission prior to his landscaping. I met Mr. Garabedian and Mr. LaBelle out at the property, and he did up a very nice rendition, and either Mr. Garabedian can go over it, or I can quickly go over it, whichever the commission prefers.
All right, so we've got, what do we have, sort of zones going on here? Is that what this is?
So these are the different areas of his plantings.
Okay.
So he has mainly 5 main planting areas going on. In this plan, he depicted all of what was going in there, and if you just bear with me for a minute, he actually explained it quite well. So this is to the left of his front doorway, to the right and forward of the front right of his home. Then he also has in the backyard, by some windows, right when you go around the corner of the house, this is another big planting bed.
Okay.
And then he has another one to cover his propane tank.
Oh, okay.
Along with that, he actually gave a nice printout of what's going in each garden area. Number 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, etc. And then indicated that sod was going to be used for his lawn area.
Okay.
And then he also, this is a very extensive detail on the border fencing and along the front water line. And this is the plan of the fencing, fence number 1, fence number 2. And I also have pictures. So this is where one of the planting areas are going to be. This is where another planting area is going to be. This was another one. This is the fence along the Pappas border, and this is the fence in the backyard. Over on this area, it's a little more than 10 feet away from the water line. Over on this area, it's more like 15 to 16 feet along the water line.
Okay. Can we see the fence detail?
Yep.
That's written.
Oh, God, I should have brought my
I can try
glasses in.
and just- Do
Sorry.
you want me to shrink increase one fence area first? and then go to the
No, I
next?
mean, we know where they're going. I just want to make sure that, how tall is the fence? Is it going to be raised on the bottom, as we've discussed?
So the one going down the border is going to be proposed a 6-foot vinyl fence,
Okay,
ending 10 feet before the water, down the Pappas border, ending 10 feet before the water. Then the one going along the waterfront is I spec'd out a 3-foot aluminum fence, but I think it's going to be 4 because I would have had it custom made at 3 feet.
Okay.
So it's going to be a 3-foot aluminum fence, black aluminum fence that's going to be 10 to 15 feet from the water in front of, between the fence and the water. We're not touching that at all. That's hosta plants, vegetation there.
Yep.
And riprap in front of it to the water. So we're not touching, we're not doing anything to the water's edge that wasn't there prior.
okay. Now, the fence this is going to be raised on the bottom, like we
Yep.
discussed? Okay.
Yes.
What are the posts going to be set in? Are they just dug into the dirt, or are they going to be set in concrete?
Well, the proposal is to set them in concrete.
Okay.
But it's going to, again, it's going to be on this side of the current wattles that are there currently. So
Okay.
Okay.
on, when I say this side, the house side.
Yep.
All right.
And you're about 10 feet from the water on the other side of the wattles? Is that what you said, where the plants are going to go?
Yeah.
About-
So on,
Oh, go ahead. I'm trying.
at the nearest point to the water, the fence is a little over 10 feet. But the way that the water line goes, you see where the yellow barrel is there?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so it actually will come out further.
Curves a little bit.
Okay.
But you have plantings on the waterfront, that's on
Nope.
water, oh, my bad, picture window.
That
Yeah.
was there, those are
So that
Boston.
was, I noted
I
that.
saw waterfront.
I noted that with Dawn when I handed it to her. I said, "Well, I probably shouldn't have put waterfront, but that means that side of the house.
Front of your house.
Okay. We're in this location. Any questions or comments on this? Okay.
The dirt's just going to be naturalized into lawn? The,
Sod.
Sod.
yeah.
Yep.
So, lawn. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, I guess, why don't we take a look at the front? Pretty self-explanatory. I'm seeing a mix of different plants, so.
Okay.
Any particular questions or comments on that?
No, it looked like a pretty robust planting
It's
plan.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
In the layouts kind of help to visualize what he's got, so.
It's laid
What
out
we like
pretty
to
well.
see.
So, yeah, this is
It's
nice.
nice to
This
see.
is nice to
Right?
see,
And
so,
Sunset Nurseries does a nice job.
yeah.
They've got beautiful plants.
What role did the environmental club have in this? None?
What was the question?
What role did the environmental club have in this planting plan?
She's here for moral support,
Okay.
and I have to take her to dinner after this.
There you go.
Will she
All
be
right.
digging plants?
Oh, Sunset Nursery will.
Yeah.
All right, folks, any
Beautiful.
questions, feedback, comments, concerns on this?
No.
I
No, I
want to
think
thank you for bringing this to
beautiful.
us before you brought, ended up going ahead and doing it, so. All right, so if there's no concerns or questions, I guess can we get an approval motion on 14 Bates Crossing, Garabedian project for them to get that landscape going?
I move to approve the planting.
You got to speak into the mic.
I move to approve the planting plan.
All right, we got Commissioner Bach with the first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Commissioner Cirillo with the second. And a roll call. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sheeran?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you both.
Thanks.
Have a
All right,
great
you
evening.
take care.
Have a
Enjoy
good
dinner.
Thank you.
All right. All right, 73 Birch Island Road. This was a cease and desist order submitted due to
Excuse me.
a complaint of filling in the shoreline. This is Anthony DeTorando. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Mr. DeTorando, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so, we, obviously, we got a complaint that, there is, sand being filled in on, in to make a, private beach. And so obviously we had to send you a cease and desist, and we had to tell you, hey, you need to come in and talk about this.
Sure.
I have to tell you that your entire area here, based on GIS, you're in the floodplain here. So with that,
Beach
you
area,
can't.
you mean,
What's that?
did you say the beach area is in the floodplain?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's in a floodplain.
Yes.
So you probably see areas, times when the water's high, it covers that, and then it drops.
Yeah, it's not,
I can see a little bit of staining on your rocks there, so it gets up there and then it gets back down. So regardless, you're not supposed to be putting anything in there without a proper permit. That's what the regs say. So thou shall not fill without a proper permit.
understood.
So with that, we need to tell you that if you plan to do something like this, you would need to file the proper permit, and all of anything that you put in here, it needs to be out of the water, or it needs to be back, and you'd need to go through Chapter 91 because you are in a flood area. So based on where that 480 mark is, which is the mean high water mark for the lake,
Yes.
I think it's right about where your wall is.
It's marked out. It's closer on the south end than it is on the north end. On the north end, there's whatever, 15, there's a lot of room. On the south end, there's not much room. And that's where I was having some erosion coming underneath that wall. There's a big base stone that's been displaced, maybe 5 or 6 inches, that moved over the winter.
Okay.
So I'll need to have somebody professional come in, and then we'll have to come in and apply for.
Well, the thing is if you're looking to keep this here, number one, you shouldn't be putting anything back in there to have your little beach area here that's obviously been there for quite a while. But you'd need to file a permit, and
Right.
you'd need to talk to Chapter 91.
Talk to,
Chapter 91 at the
Yep.
state,
yep.
and I would let them know that, hey, the Webster Conservation Commission sent me a cease and desist. Based on a plan that I've had from before, it shows that I'm in that 480 flood elevation. And am I able to, you could probably, with filing to the state, get a permit to have your sand beach, but it's got to be closed off, and it's got to be permitted through the state, which
Right.
I'm not going to lie, it can be a pain in the neck.
Sure.
People are going through it with docks, people are going through it with retaining walls, so, but I got to tell you at this point, because we stopped you, you can't do this anymore.
Understood. Yep, completely understood.
So with that, commissioners, any particular comments on this?
I think it's important to point out the environmental impact of putting sand in the lake, right? It kills everything. If you look in your water, it's probably filled with sand. There's nothing living there. And that is unacceptable. And It shouldn't have happened. It should never, ever happen again. I don't think we'd ever permit someone carrying loads of sand and creating a beach on their property line. So I feel sort of ripped off that we can't fix this because fixing it would make a bigger problem.
Yeah,
But
it would.
the idea of taking sand from I don't know where with I don't know what in it and putting it in the lake is detrimental to everyone in your neighborhood. And it's just very frustrating that this would happen on Webster Lake.
Just as a point of order, it didn't go into the lake, it went onto the beach. So I actually have pictures.
You're in a floodplain.
Okay,
That's
right. So-
water, right? And you know, as
In the
I
event
do,
of a flood,
that you
yeah.
can't prevent the waves from coming in and taking whatever they want out.
Uh-huh. Sure.
So the sand is there. I can tell from this picture that at least 10 feet beyond where the water is now is sand.
Right, which was from the original development that was there. I actually have pre-pictures of it to show that that sand was in the water prior to,
So someone's been putting in sand for a long time.
no, it was when that wall was originally done, there was a beach that was created under a DEP permit by a construction, by a company. That was.
If you
that
have
was-
those pictures and documents, I would just send,
Yep,
bring
I
them
do.
over to the
I have them. I had
agent so
sent a
that we've
message to
got.
Don. We had a communication mix-up, but I had offered them prior to the meeting. But I do have them that show, and they're dated and stamped, that show that there's, that the sand was in the water prior to the date of the, but again, I certainly understand. I'm not arguing the point of whether or not I should or should not be able to do it but again, it was, that sand is not, there was already sand there in the water. This one on top of the beach to kind of backfill the erosion from the wall.
What I
Again,
would-
not an excuse, just an explanation for what was
I
going on.
appreciate the
Not-
explanation.
Not arguing the point.
What I would probably consider doing from this point forward is just try to rake up what you've got.
Yep.
And you can kind of re-nourish. and
Backwards towards the wall, you mean?
Yeah, re-clean the sand that's there, but,
Yep,
I have to tell you, under the wetlands regs, that you can't put anything in there anymore.
understood.
So,
In the past, when we've dealt with these sorts of intrusions into the floodplain, we've also gotten third parties to, how we can remediate the issue. I'm just throwing that out there that,
there wouldn't be any way to remediate this without creating another problem.
but a wetlands expert would be able to chime in on that.
It depends on what the board would go. I wouldn't, he's here, he knows what he did, he knows where we're coming from. Infractions going forward, you can get fines from the state and
Understood.
from
Sure.
the town. So,
Yep.
At this point,
Certainly won't
I
happen
would,
again.
At this point, I would say that just pulling the sand back out,
Yeah.
it gets you the fill that you want, and it's not creating any new problems. Anything else that we come up with, we're just going to make it worse.
My only comment would be I would have him reach out to DEP and see what DEP's recommendation is, and then submit that to Dawn, and then,
Yeah, I would-
we can discuss their findings, their recommendations, because it is the floodplain, and if DEP feels that it's worth the time and the potential impact of renaturalizing that shoreline, then we look to have the homeowner address it based upon DEP's findings. But I don't think that we want to ask the homeowner to remove any of the sand.
Yeah.
I think leave it as is,
It
talk to
would-
DEP,
yeah,
have
it would
DEP.
kick up
I'll send those pictures too, I'll send you what I have as well.
And if DEP had already previously approved something like this, it might be under a Chapter 91 permit, which should be recorded on a deed.
Right, so the house, I bought the house already pre-built. It was all the stone walls And that beat was, was what I did after a few years of being there, on a DEP permit, with a DEP permit and doing all that. So that was all created under that permit.
And that was in
What you see, what you see.
2014, was that the plan?
Yeah, so I bought the property, so it's just 10 years now, right? So it was 2000, I think it was April or May of 2013, so almost exactly 10 years. And it was a couple years, it was 19 months of building the walls, and I didn't do it right away, so I'm guessing this is my 6th or 7th year. So, yeah, you're probably in the right time. I mean, it's a matter of record when that DEP permit was pulled, so it's got to be, so 13, 14, maybe 15 or 16, somewhere in there, was when the DEP permit was done to create the walls and the beach and so on and so forth, and there was a curtain in there.
And looking at where the walls are now,
Mr.
I
Chairman,
mean,
this
if
is
we
a
had-
plan that I had found back in one of the old files.
okay,
And I'm not sure if this information is useful to the commission, but I actually did do some research to see if there was any previous violations on this property, because I thought that might have been helpful, had you guys spoken with,
Anthony.
did,
Anthony.
I can't
Yeah,
say his
that's
last
okay.
name.
Deneronda. It's okay.
I'm like totally botching it. But I could not find anything else on record that there was ever another complaint or violation. So as far as I could tell, even I went into the old paper files, there was no other records. So it seems like this is the first time, possibly since he's been,
Yeah.
owned it, that this property has a violation.
Yeah.
All right,
My
so-
apologies for the,
so Commissioner Brown, as well as myself, would recommend that you get in touch with the state and talk to them and just let them know that, I've got this beach area, and it's essentially been there, and it looks like the other side of the wall got built probably right along that 480 mark. That's why the bottom touches the water sometimes during.
On the
when
south
it's-
si-
When it's
on the
high,
south side,
when you
yeah.
got high level of water. Yeah. So, at one point before, we became a great pond, and you got to account for things being built in that flood contour of 480. We would have had you go through and permit this under Chapter 91. So,
understood.
but that's, that's obviously gone by, it's constructed, it's built. We see the area that's disturbed, and we just ask that I would just leave it and
Yep.
don't, if you can take some of the sand up away from the waves, that'd be great. But, I wouldn't go in and excavate that stuff out. It's only gonna kick up turbidity and all that stuff. So, and you're not gonna be able to stop the water from going up and down, so,
Understood. Yeah.
because that's a floodplain. So, I think probably, if you can get in touch with the state and, let us know what they've said, who you talked to, so that way we can verify that, or if they can send an email to the office,
Okay.
let us know what you talked about.
Send all that through Dawn.
Yeah, so what we can do is obviously, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
So what
understood.
we need
Yeah,
to.
That's clear.
So, do you think you'll be able to make contact with the state by the next meeting and then come back and just let us know?
I can try, sure.
Or do you
I've
wanna-
never
or
had
do
to
you
deal
wanna
with them,
push-
so I
or
don't
do you
know how
wanna- or do you wanna
easily
push it out?
It is to get a hold of them, but I'll certainly do my best to.
You should email
I'll
them.
email you in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you,
The
if you,
contact information.
and if you, I'll send back the pictures when you email me. I'll send you back the pictures that show the pre-existing, the photos of pre-existing that are date stamped.
All right, yeah, so why don't we, do we want to put this out to the 5th of June, do you think, in 2 weeks? Or do you,
Like I
if you
said,
need more time, you can
I
always
can
let
give- yep,
Dawn know that
I'll
you need to.
give it my best, I'll give it my
another.
best effort.
So, all right, so why don't we put it on the 5th? That way we got something continuing to move, that way we can find out what the state has to say with it, and we'll go from there. Does
Sounds
that
good.
sound reasonable?
No, it sounds reasonable, yes, thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for your
So-
consideration.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your attention to it and coming to a meeting tonight and talking with us. So why don't we put 73 Birch Island Road to June 5th, and that will be an update as to photographs and anything you've got, a little bit of history on what's gone on there, because pretty much none of us were here to see what was permitted, so.
Understood. Do you actually have a copy of the original, did you found the?
There's no
the
order of
DEP?
conditions
I only
on
looked
this.
for.
There's no order of
I only
conditions on
looked
this.
for any previous
Probably two,
violations,
'cause
so
we've
I
seen that in
will,
the past.
I can peek in your file.
Okay.
But there's nothing at the registry. So
Okay, so,
There's nothing at the registry for,
Your
Original?
DEP order for the wall? For the wall?
the original order of conditions,
yep, there was none, is that what you're saying?
Right.
it's, yeah.
On the original DEP filing from whatever, 2015 or whenever roughly that was?
If you've got that, and if you could supply it to Dawn, that'd be great. That way we can have something
find
like
that.
legacy on file.
It would be on file here too, right, in the town hall?
A lot of the files were damaged in the basement storage, so
Okay.
we've lost quite a bit of history.
All right.
There
Let's
was,
see what-
there was an issue with mold, and we needed to have a private contractor come in, so
Take a peek
many
too.
old files were damaged with mold in the basement.
Okay.
So, all right, so we'll just put this on to the 5th for a cease and desist and an update from Mr. DeTorando on
Yep.
communication with the state. So
Yep.
does that sound good, folks?
I have
All
it on
right.
my list.
Can I get a motion
I'll
on
make
this?
a motion to continue 73 Birch Island until June 5th.
All right, so that's Commissioner Brown with the first.
I'll second.
Are you going to draw straws in that?
I'm over here in surround sound.
All
I'll
right.
defer to the elder.
Okay, so the elder, Commissioner Bach, second that, and a roll call, please. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
And Wigglesworth is a yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See,
All
you could've
right.
been less insulting and said to
Okay, so,
the senior.
all right,
in,
so
I've
next
been here
item
longer.
is acknowledgement of open meeting law violation has been filed against the Conservation Commission. Vote to authorize the staff to reply, and I'm going to defer to our staff as the point contact on this to give us an update.
So that, since the filing of this agenda, that complaint has been withdrawn as of May 12th.
Okay, so we have nothing to move on, acknowledgement that there was a violation pending, and it's been withdrawn. All right, so next item, draft meeting minutes, April 24th, 2023, and May 9th, 2023. If we don't have them, then we're not gonna hear them, because that would be an open meeting law violation.
I have the complaint that was just withdrawn.
It was one, I filed 3. That was one, it was specified, and I responded to Ann precisely as she wanted me to respond. The other 2,
We don't have them.
Sent to though, Karen. So this one,
This was intended for the first one, so we're not gonna
I've got them right here. They went to you, Jody, Dawn, and Bob Craver as required.
I mean, with all due respect, the amount of emails coming in, I mean, it's pretty substantial. So, I mean, if something got lost in translation, I mean,
5/4/23.
well, this is for, it was intended for the initial one, so, I mean, if we don't have the other two on to discuss, we'll discuss them at the next meeting. So draft meeting minutes, April 24th and May 9th. Have we read? All right, you can talk about this later. We have an agenda to move through.
From May 4th. and
Okay. That needs to be situated with downstairs. So
One email from May 4th.
we've acknowledged the initial one, and it was rescinded, and there's nothing to discuss because it was rescinded. So that's the way it is on the agenda. That's the way we're moving forward. There's always next agenda.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
The agenda, and I'm just asking so I understand clarity, it doesn't state what the violation references. So how do we know that the one on the agenda is 5-4?
The authorization would be for the staff to reply.
Right, but it doesn't state for what the complaint date was. So if there are potentially multiples, I would request that future agendas identify the complaint dates just on record, that way
So
there's no concern.
I agree with you. I can tell you, Ann did extensive research to find out how we needed to put it on here. And this is exactly what they told me to put it on. So that's why it's worded like that. I can check and see,
Yeah, if you could have Ann just kind of explain that to me, because I don't understand, because I don't know what we're discussing, because we don't have a date of anything.
Yep.
If you could just have Ann send me something to explain, so I kind of have my head wrapped around it, I would appreciate that. That's
set.
not related to the other?
This is related to one.
Okay.
And that is
that's-
all we're proceeding forward with. So, draft meeting minutes, April 24th and May 9th. Have we read them? And is there any input on them? The only input that I have was on May 9th. It was discovered that at the top, it was not the Webster Police Station, it was Town of Webster's Selectman Room. And that was from May 9th. So if there's no discussion, do we have a motion for April 24th?
Big file.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for April 24th.
Okay. So Commissioner Cirillo with the first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Parent with the second. So roll call on that. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Abstain?
Commissioner Bach?
Abstain.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes?
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. May 9th, meeting minutes, and then, of course, my correction there. Has everyone had the chance to review them? Any feedback? And if not, with that change, do we have a motion?
I have not had a chance to review those.
Okay. So do we want to motion to put May 9th onto the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to hold May 9th draft meeting minutes until the June 5th meeting.
Okay.
As I have not had an opportunity to review those myself.
All right, so that's a continuance of May 9th to 6/5. Is that a motion one? All right, do we have a motion two?
I'll second that.
All right, Commissioner Parent with motion two to continue May 9th's meeting minutes to 6/5. And roll call, Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Abstain.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes?
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Moving on to old business items. So the violation of DEP 323-1197, the Zero Goddard, lots 1 and 2. I'm going to defer to our staff for an update on this one. Matt Matt Morrow is unable to attend a Tuesday meeting, so,
Okay, so Joey and I met Matt Morrow out at the construction sites. We came up with an updated punch list. Matt sent over the punch list in writing. There was 2 items that was not included, so I emailed him and had him add those 2 items on. And he's working towards getting the property to where they can come for a certificate of compliance.
all right, so the wetland area, good part of it from what was done in the fall, it's coming in pretty good. There's still one area that's near, remember on the right, if you're facing the wetland on the right side, there's a perimeter drain that had some rocks in it. That area needs to be cleared out. There's a lot of multiflora rose, bittersweet, various other invasives in there. That area is going to be cleared out, and a wetland seed mix is going to go in there so that the wetland area will be shored up. The lawn needs to be mowed, but that's something that we really can't push. But the perimeter drains have been disconnected. Splash pads need to be put underneath the drains, the downspouts. Some areas in the lawn between the 2 dwellings and in the front, it just needs a bit more grass to be put in. The bollards in the front, I went over to see how sturdy they were, and I think that there was just a hole dug, and they just put a metal bollard in the ground. So those need to be tightened up so that if something were to hit them, it will not break that hydrant. Then we talked about, in between the 2 homes, rocks have been placed there, but the rocks are about this big, and they're in a little pile right across. So the rocks between the homes, he's got 2 options that we talked about. Place larger stones there, like that border the wetland, where the wetland signs are going to go, or take the rocks out and put in a wooden guardrail just after where the berm of crushed stone is. So I honestly think that that's a better idea, but given the fact that we permitted this with rocks to be at the bottom, if he chooses to do either or, I think that that would be fine. Yeah, see the rocks?
Sorry, that's pretty funny.
It's, yeah, it's, you know, this site obviously has its issues, so, but anyway, that is the update from here. So we just need to just continue to move on. Matt hopefully will be here at our next meeting, so.
Joey, what's at the top of that? Is it the rock capturing the water runoff? Down?
Yeah, what we did was in the fall, we had said, you know, at the end of the driveway, put in, because the water comes down across the street,
Right.
across the road, and across that driveway.
Right.
And we didn't,
Oh, there it
it
is.
was
Okay.
originally getting washed out, so we had them put in the crushed stone, and the crushed stone is actually doing a good job. It's desynchronizing that water and getting it into the ground. So that's doing its job. It's just the grass, you know, we don't know how the seed was thrown out, but the jute netting in the front is good. It's just a little bit sparse. So
Are the placards in place? Because I didn't see
not
those.
yet. So that's got to get done.
Is that on the punch list?
Yep.
It's right. That was one of the items that was missed, so
Are they sold?
he acknowledged.
What's up?
Are they sold?
No.
Well,
No.
that's good.
They're not even anywhere near. There's
That's
a lot
good.
of, in the back where the posts go up for the decking, it's not stabilized. People shouldn't be on it. It could fall. It's just, yeah, the lights for the front are not, the wires just sticking out of the house. So, but those are just, I mean, those aren't, you know, building part is in Ted's hands. So, and he's got quite a bit to do to meet the requirement for habitability. So, anyway, so that's the update on Zero Goddard. So with that, if we want, we can have Dawn go forward with telling Matt to continue on with the work and get in there and get that area, get things continue moving. Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right. So All right, so request for extension of enforcement order. This is 67 Colonial Road. Do we have the folks for 67 Colonial Road here?
Hang on, do we have to vote on that?
I mean, it's an ongoing issue. We can to have Dawn connect with Matt. I mean, they've been in touch together if you want to formalize it.
Let's
Yeah?
formalize it.
All right. So, do we have a motion for Dawn to connect with Matt and reiterate the bullet points and to continue moving on these sites to get them?
The next meeting as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for Dawn to connect with Matt in regards to the items listed on his updated punch list, address the additional installation of the placards and the pickup of the debris that he mentioned in his email, and continue this until June 6th, or June 5th.
Okay, sounds good. All right. so
Second.
Commissioner Brown with the first, Commissioner Cirillo with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sheeran?
Abstain?
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes?
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Okay. So moving on, this is the enforcement order on 67 Colonial Road. If we could have the folks that are here for 67 Colonial come forward. This is continued from 5/9. How are we doing?
Good evening.
All right, I'm just going to remind folks to just speak into the microphone.
Hi, Steve Poole from Lakeview Engineering, and
Hi, Scott Jordan from Ecotech.
I'm sorry, who was it?
Scott Jordan from Ecotech.
Okay.
and we'd just like to, update the commission on where we are on the project over at 67 Colonial Road. And primarily Scott is going to, go through the Ecotech report that was prepared and submitted to the commission, so.
Thanks, Steve. Scott Morrison from my office has done an evaluation on the site. He wasn't available tonight, so he asked me to present his findings in the report that was submitted to the commission. Specifically, he went out to the site to see if there were any resource area alterations as a result of the retaining wall, any potential mitigation that may be required. So we were not involved in the project from the beginning. What we did review was the approved plan, which was a sketch drawing, some aerial photography, and some pre-construction photographs that the commission took, or
No, the owner took.
the owner took, which are included, which are included in the report. I'll reference, and if Dawn can slide to them when we need them. Fantastic, thank you. So, upon evaluation, basically he was looking for any potential BVW impacts or bank impacts based upon the topography at the site, which, Dawn, if you could scroll up one more, photo one. Yeah. So that was a pre-construction photograph we were supplied with, and we also looked at some aerials from 2019 versus 2022. Based on that topography, the vegetation present, and the topography and vegetation on each side of the retaining wall, it's our belief that there was no BVW on the site that may have been altered. There was no evidence of hydrology when we looked at the ends of the wall. Again, steep topography, sweet pepper bush was basically the only vegetation present. We also evaluated, he evaluated potential bank impacts. Also looked at aerial photography, which is shown in photo 2 and 3. Yeah, right there. Thank you, Dawn. And there's also some photos 4, 5, and 6 on the next page.
which were taken during and immediately after the installation of the wall. His assessment was that the top of the bank is coincident with the water level on photo 1, and coincident with the water level on photo 4, and with the staining on photos 5 and 6. There you go, thank you. So photo 4 would be on the left, 5 and 6 being on the right. So his assessment determined that the wall is not constructed on or below the top of the bank, which is mean flood level or first observable break in slope, whichever is lower. And he determined they pretty much coincide, which they often do on this site. So he doesn't believe there was bank or BVW alteration on the site. He, based upon the sketch plan that was approved, there were some mitigation plantings. There weren't many details on that. We don't believe any or many were done. So he's provided a planting table that he recommends some buttonbush be installed below the wall on the gravel banking, 6 total, and buffer zone plantings would be at the
Which picture do you want?
west end of the wall. Sorry, north end of the wall. There's an area, an open area that some buffer zone plantings could be inserted. 1 red maple sapling, 6 shrubs, blueberry, dogwood, hazel, witch hazel, maple leaf viburnum, sweet pepper bush, or silky dogwood. We'd like to see a variety there. You'd like to see at least 3 species selected for a total of 6 shrubs, 1 red maple sapling for buffer zone mitigation. We are not engineers, but based upon, as far as stormwater, and feel free to jump in, Steve. I believe there was originally paver patio proposed up on the first terrace. It is actually pea stone. There were supposed to be like a river stone swale that would drain the patio down to the lake. That was not installed, but it appears the client is going with the pea stone gravel, which is, you shouldn't get runoff from that. It should provide infiltration. So it's probably optimal that, it's fortunate that the swale wasn't installed to direct runoff straight to the lake. And there should be some infiltration within what was previously pervious or semi-pervious proposed surfaces.
The other problem with the swale, one of the swales was actually proposed on the neighbor's property. So we feel that, you know, the existing conditions will handle the stormwater runoff without a problem and eliminate having to go onto some type of an easement or whatever would have to do to, you know, pick up runoff and as Scott just mentioned, you know, funnel it down to the lake. So, yeah, under the existing conditions, we don't think there will be any runoff going to the lake. It'll all go into the ground.
All set?
Yeah.
All right. 6 plantings, 13 plantings for something that, compared to what was planned, and your client decided to completely re-alter, re-engineer, redo what he wanted, and openly admitted that he didn't like the other design and just went ahead and did what he wanted, without proper regard for this board, its agent at the time, and not even partnering with the commission in any way, shape, or form, and having that wall sitting on state property, not even on his own, is not acceptable in my book. 13 plantings for what? For the Great Wall of China that got built there? And this is what you guys come to this board with? And not one of you contacted Chapter 91, which this would fall under their jurisdiction, to come to this board with an answer as to what they say should happen here. I've been in touch with DEP, and DEP said that we could actually move to have the wall taken down if it's not properly permitted. I gotta tell you, I'm angry and aggravated because I'm tired of going around with Mr. Arnold. It's getting old, real fast. So, I would say, we're not discussing anything tonight. You need to go back to Chapter 91, and you need to tell them that your client decided to take it upon himself to build a wall on state property without a proper permit, or connecting with the Conservation Commission in any way, shape, or form. Because we would have stopped this process if he had properly reached out to us, which is in his order of conditions. He's in violation of his own order of conditions. So, in my book, you need to go back to Chapter 91, tell them what happened, show them pictures, discuss what happened, and then come back to us as to what is going to happen moving forward. For getting this permitted, re-engineered, something aside from 13, this is offensive, 13 shrubs, and you saw what was planned versus what happened. I mean, this is just, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's disgusting.
Okay. I will state that, and he made reference several times in his report that the
And it's in the
approved
meeting,
plan,
it's in the meeting minutes that he said, I didn't like this
Mitigation
design, I
plan
didn't
too.
like Mr. Paquette, so I fired him and I did what I wanted. That was in the meeting minutes of last summer.
yeah, if the plantings would have been specified, quantified, then we would have certainly shot for a different total, but
You would have
So-
probably done that, but that's not what Mr. Arnold decided
this
to
is all we
do,
have for
knowing that
approved
he
plan.
needed to partner with this board.
plantings, that's the only point I wanted to make, so.
I mean, he can think that this is the greatest development, till the cows come home, but it's not even on his property, it's on state property. It's on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that sits on. He's got floodplain. Did you happen to look at the floodplain that's in there? That wall sits in floodplain storage, so you're blocking off the lake from doing its natural process of being able to flood when we have a lot of water. Not to mention any kind of wildlife impact. I mean, when you stand on top of that wall and look out there, you can see all of the little fish spawning nests right off the side there. Those probably used to come in where it was warmer. And now they're further out, and it's just, I'm blown away at how this is just coming about. But in my opinion, without wasting anyone's time tonight, you need to go back and you need to talk to DEP, you need to talk to the State Waterways Department, Chapter 91, contact Chrissy Hops, Deputy Director. She is very familiar with Webster, and you need to tell her that you've got a client that's violated Chapter 91 and Wetlands Protection Act and his order of conditions. How should we proceed on this process, in this project, and then figure out a solution and come back to us?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I mean, on that, part of their proposed mitigation is also filling into the wetland by planting within the wetland.
Yeah, no.
Putting a
Enough.
six-foot button bush already down in the water line.
I
To
mean,
me,
I don't.
That's not making the situation any better.
No.
You're putting more things in the water.
There's going to need to be some sort of, something is going to need to you got to compensate for the amount of bank that you disturbed. 10% of bank, and he's got a lot of bank there. He's disturbed the entire bank.
Mr. Chairman, that was the part that offended me the most. I believe the report says, no, the bank remains. And there's no bank, there's the Great Wall of China.
Commissioner Cirillo, myself, and Commissioner Bach went back and forth with the previous designer several times, and that's where we came up with this, the approved plan that, you know, if we had known that he had originally planned that type of wall, I mean, we would have sent him down an entirely different road. So, and I mean, I know that you're just coming into the project now, Mr. Ecotech, but, you know, I explained all of this to Scott when we met up with Scott a couple weeks back, before Scott went on vacation. And I supplied him with another environmental professional that did LiDAR to calculate the distance and what was disturbed. So, given the fact that you need to contact 91, which it takes them quite a while, and I would reassess what you're planning here and what should happen. But you need to look at all of the entire realm and laws, and you need to look at the conditions. And I would, if you need to talk with our agent Dawn to get more information or to ask questions, you know, there's 3 commissioners here that were part of the original plan of that, so.
Okay.
We can supply you with additional information and how the sausage was created. So, to give you a better idea, but this is just, it's
Okay,
It's impressive and
understand
not
we're
in a
not
good way.
completely done with the evaluation and trying to bring things into compliance. We, you know, just wanted to bring you up to date.
I'm sorry?
We wanted to bring you up to date with those issues we talked about at the site visit. And
Yeah.
that's what Echo Tech's, you know, initial report is trying to do. There are other issues that have to be dealt with. And we know the project administratively from the very beginning was a disaster.
I mean, this is a major departure from what was planned, and the fact of the matter is, when I discussed it with your client, there was I'm going to be honest with you, there was a layer of arrogance that was there, that I just did what I wanted. I didn't like the other one, and I kept talking to him about it. And it was just, I like this project better, and this is what I did. This is what I did, this is what I did. It was recorded. So, I mean, to openly admit, and you're violating, I mean, it's not okay. And you know, we take our job pretty seriously here in town, as you could tell. So there needs to be some reparations that need to be made here, and concessions, and you need to look at this from all points. Chapter 91, you know, and wetlands. So, but I would suggest, rather than waste any more time for the board, you need to talk with them, come back to us, send communications to Dawn, and do you think that you would, should we put you on June 5th, or should we put you on the one after that to get everything in order?
June 26th.
June 26th is the other one. That would be obviously in a month.
26th. Yes, June 26th
That would be great.
would be the one after that. Yeah, Monday.
And just so you know, 480 is the floodplain marker for the lake. So, and when you look under GIS, that floodplain climbs up along that banking. The original banking that was there.
I'll have to check that also.
All right, so 26th of June or the 5th?
Why don't we shoot for the 26th?
Okay.
Is that what you think? Or
Yeah,
the
June
5th?
26th meeting.
All right, 26th, commissioners? Okay, can we get a motion to continue this to June 26th?
A
I'll make the
motion to continue to June 26th.
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Bach with the first, Commissioner Cirillo with the second, and roll call, Commissioner Cirillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Sheeran, I'm not in tune with it yet. Commissioner Sheeran,
To abstain.
abstain, Commissioner Bach,
Yes.
Commissioner Hayden Brown,
Yes?
Commissioner Rich Parent,
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, so, All right, so next up, the next couple here are with Mr. Kravosky. So we get 71 R Minebrook. This is the Weatherby clearing. This was continued from 5/9.
Thanks.
Glenn, how we doing?
Good evening.
Mr. Weatherby, how we doing?
Thank you. We were at the site this afternoon. This is Minebrook. This is Mr. Weatherby, as you're aware. We did produce both a topo map laid over the property, and the problem, I sent to surveyor, which is Levesque Surveying, Joe Levesque, marine-trained surveyor, very qualified. He's doing quite a bit with us. And the problem was, I sent them a map, an aerial flyover to show where the wetland areas are, because they're distinguished, and they are, we do have that map, but Staples could not get it out of my phone late this afternoon, and we realized this has taken a while. He ended up giving me a map with LiDAR on it, but it was treed, and you can't see the wetland systems with the leaves. I gave you the one with no leaves. It was a fall picture, and so we can see the pines around the outer skirts as you go in that wetland to the left. You can see the cart road, as you're aware, as you go in. Joe was there, Ms. Portner was there, thank you. And the area to the left where there was some fill in the wetland area. Those are all very evident in the flyover. That is a fall flyover. We will have it tomorrow morning. We're putting together a restoration report. Mr. Weatherby recently received a letter, a commission-authorized letter from Ms. Portman, allowing him to take out the trees, those stumps, those big piles, so we could clean those up. The wetland is still wet. We're not going to do the restoration until it's dry, so there's water. We had 1.5 inches the other day, and then let's just round them, the 2 1/4 and 2 1/4 we had, whether it be 3 or 4 weeks ago. So all that has kept the water table back up, although it was drier before that, but not dry here. This was an area that was dug to the water table to take the gravel out to build Route 52, 395. And we are looking to, and we're not working to delay, we'll have a map, we'll send it to Ms. Portman tomorrow, and we're going to show these wetland areas that we're going to both take the debris out. This was a dumping ground, one of them, the one in and on the left was a dumping ground. And where the delineation will occur on the one where he's parking those rigs, that first fill going straight in on the left. We're gonna because we need to know exactly what the square footage of fill is. The other wetlands are gonna be restored, the one in that larger round area. So we're gonna remove the human debris, the tires, the shingles, everything that was dumped out there over the years, as this was a playground for dumping back when Minebrook was a dirt road, and this was just someplace you backed into it, and also motocross and other things were going on back there. Party, and it was a party spot.
Yeah.
We talked to one of your realtors who's my age, who goes, yeah, that's what was going on in town. We won't say what realtor. But so, our job will be we would say July, August, to do the restoration. We will say that the larger area to the back left where the debris is, it's grassed up now.
Good.
We did put the erosion control at the outlet to that.
Okay.
Mr. Weatherby did have it surveyed to show where the property lines were. Interesting. The people that we believe are the people that filed the complaint, which is legitimate. I mean, it was work and wetlands, and they thought that the water was coming to them.
Yeah, the main thing
Come
with
to
them
find
was
out,
that they
they're
just didn't want
on
water
Mr.
on the
Weatherby's
property.
property with their work, and so well, such is life, you know. We might put a driveway right back up through there. No, I'm not suggesting that, but they are because there's a jog. His driveway goes in and then veers left the property line, so it goes in and left, and it actually cuts through the other people's yard. We did, I believe from our inspection that we weren't increasing water to them. There was no diversion of water drainage anymore to these people.
Which
And,
was the initial
you're-
complaint.
You're deserving of a restoration report, and I'm going to be working within the next 2 weeks, now that I have this flyover, that I can then sketch out, this is the area, here's the stumpage up here. Who's the name of your chipper?
Hurley?
The Hurley's working.
Yeah.
Hurley is the guy that's gonna stump grind all the trees, and we're gonna
Okay.
have piles so that if there were, we're not gonna use any of that chipping, it's gonna stay in a pile out of the wetlands. And if we need it for stabilization in some upland areas, although the upland areas are revegetating with
Yeah.
at least herbaceous vegetation, we do want to clean that up. Again, that's that letter I referred to recently that Ms. Portman sent to Ms.
Yeah,
to
and
Ms.
just so the board's aware, and just to
I'm gonna get a copy of that,
remind
too.
them
I don't think, Dawn, I received a
that
copy of that.
Of the administrative approval?
Right.
the stumps and the trees are,
Please, if you
that were
could send me that. Well, he
disturbed
said he would send me a
are-
copy too, so, but if I can get it from you, anything that
they're
goes,
out of the jurisdictional area, so.
anything that goes to my clients, if I could always get a copy of it, please, so I can, because I didn't even know about it till tonight, because I looked at those stumps today, and I'm saying, why isn't that chipped? So that we can stop moving through restoration here, both getting rid of that stumpage. It's, one of the piles is 20 feet high. I was next to it, so it's a lot of trees. A lot of them came from the upland. There was an upland area, oak up above,
Yep.
which will be all evident with this flyover that I do have with the LiDAR on it. The LiDAR will also help to show these level areas, and then as the slope rises up. Yes, ma'am.
And I just, Mr. Chairman, if I just may, just because you said it in public, so I definitely can get you a copy of this administrative approval, but I know you said if, like, I can send you whatever on all your projects, you would have to request that, just because there's no way I could ever keep up with that.
Well-
Without you requesting it, because there's so much back and forth on a daily
What-
basis.
Thank you very much. When I take on a client as representative, he doesn't know what to do with it. It's me that knows what to do with that kind of stuff, to force him to move forward. Oh, you get the letter, let's go. Where's the stump grinder? So I'll ensure that I request on anything I file that my client and I, it's only a CC. All you have to do is when you send it to him, it might have been a hard copy. Did you receive a hard copy or an email?
Yes, he had to come into the office and pick it
Oh,
up.
okay. Well,
I'm not trying to be difficult.
No,
It just would be
no, not at all.
impossible
I'm-
for me to, not with the way the workflow goes in
I
my
under-
office.
I'm not trying to
But
make-
if you request it, I have no problem sending it
I'll
to
make
you.
I'll make a point at the beginning of anything that, like, similar to this, that I, as representative, I get a copy so that I can keep track of my clients, because clients need to be kept track of. I don't care, period. It's me that does the pushing, and I push my engineers, my surveyors, and my clients. When you're running 70-something projects, Framingham this morning, I don't care, Fall River, I'm pusher. Not the pusher man, just the pusher. Kidding. It's an old song, I know, that's way before you guys, maybe. Huh? Kidding again. So we're going to move with getting Ms. Portman a restoration report in the commission within 2 weeks, because I'll now have the plan and I can identify these 4 or so areas that are alterations have occurred, delineate where he's parking so that we understand how much wetland was filled, so that we can come with a square footage there. And that's these other plans are for the other 2 violations going on.
So do you want to be on the next meeting or?
I request to be on the next meeting for an update, to give you an update of this. I'm sorry we held you through this, the whole thing, but in case Mr. Weatherby you had any questions through the chairman to Mr. Weatherby, we have him here for that reason. We do appreciate he came. Glenn, enclosed to the letter, what is this about? Is this?
All right, so any other items on this one, Glenn?
I'm sorry.
Any other items on this one?
Not on this matter. We have Colonial, and we have
Yeah.
Judy Colecki, and we have Patel in
Yeah,
front of
so,
you.
all right, so can we get a motion to continue this to 6/5/71R?
Is this from
My
you?
book.
No.
I'll make the motion to continue 71R to June
I
5th.
know, but sure.
Okay.
I'll second
No, I
it.
see
All
that,
right,
but I
and-
I've seen it.
All right, so Commissioner Brown with the first, Commissioner Sharon with her first motion. All right, so roll call. Commissioner Sherrillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes?
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth, so yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we
And we
appreciate
will be working for that chipping now, stump
Yeah,
grinding.
yeah.
The machine is up on 20 and 12, working on Ashworth Estates, but once it gets out of there, we'll be getting it down.
Great. All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Weatherby.
Thanks,
And good
thank you
night.
for coming. Thanks a lot, sorry.
All right, so next up, cease and desist letter for 290 Thompson Road. This is the encroachment on the wetland. Sanat Patel, trustee. Continued
I
from
went to this-
5/9.
Thank you. Am I ready? Thank you, sir. I met Mr. Patel because I was just looking at my sites today before I came in, and he happened to be there. We have plans, Phil, did you get the copy of the plan yet? No. 424 with sound. This is the Thompson Road one? I have 418 and 421,
Yeah,
23.
290 Thompson. Road.
Thompson and Liston has, okay. So Thompson and Liston picked up my wetland flags. We filed an RDA with you, I believe. And we're asking for you to walk the line and get a peer review or whatever you choose to do to agree on the wetland line. That's where we're at with this. Mr. Patel is talking to the neighbor across the street. He wants to work with the neighborhood group. He has 3 hospitality location. He's now cleaning the building out, having the inspections inside. He's going to remove the building. That's going to go in front of you before any of that happens, of course.
Okay.
But he's looking with Thompson Liston to actually design something on this site. Again, it might be hospitality, something to do with people living in something.
Okay.
He's got 3 options, and he's going to talk to the people across the street that are apparently the ones that are also maybe in charge of the complaint that the marina across the road their lead. So he wants to, if you're listening, he wants to work with the neighbors to get something in there that maybe they can all, the best that they can agree on, something residential type of hospitality, let me say that.
Okay. So
So you have the plan now.
all right, so to the plan here, we didn't necessarily have any filling of wetland. That was number one. There was no filling of any
No
wetland?
fill in the wetland. The work came as close as, well, it had been, this has been a filled site for probably 40, 50 years. I flagged the
back
wetlands
there,
all the way in
yeah.
the back. There was old fill to the rear.
Yep.
There's some logging material. You'll see the discharge from the catch basin. I did tell them today to clean the catch basin out and clean any sand around there. We don't want that getting into the wetland because there is a pipe that dumps in the wetland. There's large boulders with trees around them. And then inland of that is where we have this push material.
Okay.
We have a small basin, so any any fine sediments that went down, they trapped into the settling area, which is on the plan. Yep, that's the site. It's not, but we have, and that's why I want a site inspection with you and Ms. Portman to prove that we haven't filled any wetlands, but we're within 15 to 20 feet. But this depression, any kind of sediment from that new exposed area, which is called gravel on your plan, not wetland. We can demonstrate anyways that we didn't fill the wetland. And that we're catching any sediments in that temporary settling area that I explained, and that it's all visual in the field. There's no fine silts in the wetland. We can look at the whole thing.
I guess my question, it might be too soon to figure out, but is this eventually going to be a paved area, a lot, if there's going to be a building somewhere?
This is going to be full, whatever happens will be full stormwater, full.
Yeah, okay.
Thompson Liston, if you're familiar, they might come in front of you here and there. They're top quality. We're doing big stuff like the City of Worcester buses.
Yeah.
These guys have been around for
Yeah,
a
they've
long
been
time,
before
out of
us before.
Boylston.
Yep.
This will be all by the book,
Okay,
open, whatever's required, when I mean by the book, zoning, conservation, erosion controls, slopes, infiltration, everything will be in this plan. And he's thinking that it's 3 to 4 months down the road that something will be in front of you. But the RDA is in front of you now to look at the wetland line.
So, Mr. Chairman, just let me chime in. So the commission does not have the RDA yet because it's only getting advertised in time for the June 5th meeting.
Thank you.
Because we did not receive it, so we
Okay.
should not be discussing the
That's-
RDA, just to make sure.
Yep,
I know
no,
it complicates things a little
we're not
bit, but-
discussing that, we're
I
just
don't-
talking about the situation here and, okay.
Through the chairman, in these meetings, I think you can discuss just about anything. I don't think there's a forbidding that the RDA went in and we're not here then for the RDA. People do, as I've been in this law since '79, my own company since '86, you can discuss just about anything in this open forum. Okay, an RDA was submitted, we will be asking you to look at the wetland line. Some commissions, because you have had it in your possession, potentially there could be a site inspection set up before the 5th, because some commissions, before you open a hearing, do look at sites, and some commissions only look at the site after it's open. So there's a little variation in here on what commissions do. So if the commission doesn't want to look at it until after, we're in no rush. We wanted to just make sure that we're containing any kind of fines so they don't go into wetland.
Yeah,
And that's it. So at your convenience, if you want to look at it after you open the hearing on the 5th, that's your pleasure, my client's pleasure.
all right, any comments, any questions? All right, so hearing none, we'll take the cease and desist. He's obviously gotten the letter. You've already obviously filed, you've got an RDA pending, so are we in agreement that this can come off of our ongoing business and move into, we'll pick it up with the RDA piece?
Yeah.
I think that
I don't
that's
see why not.
fair.
Dawn, you've received the RDA?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
When I received it, and once I reviewed it, the Worcester Telegram and Gazette has changed their filing regulations, so it couldn't get advertised in time.
But you have a copy of the
Yes.
intention to file?
Yes.
So my only concern, Joey, was pulling it before we've received notification.
Absolutely.
Not that I don't trust Mr. Kravosky.
Yeah.
But it's, just trying to keep decorum so that everything's consistent. But if you've received it, then
And the
I'd have no
legal
problem
ad
with
has
removing it.
already, it will actually be getting posted in the Worcester TNG this Friday, so.
Yeah, then I'd have no problem
fine with
removing it.
okay, all right, so we will, do we want to take a vote to remove this from old business, and we'll pick it up at the RDA on June 5th?
Thank you.
So would the vote be to end the enforcement order?
To end, it was a cease and desist letter.
I'm sorry.
Cease and
Cease and
desist.
desist.
He's before us, he obviously got the letter. The applicant, nothing has transpired on the site since. I mean, he's hired a professional. We can see where the wetlands are. I'm comfortable with that now that it's going to go to an RDA.
Yeah.
So-
I'll make the motion to lift the cease and desist on 290 Thompson Road.
Okay,
I'll second.
Thank
all
you
right.
again.
So Commissioner Brown with the first, Commissioner Cirillo with the second. Roll call, Commissioner Cirillo,
Yes?
Commissioner Sharon,
Yes.
Commissioner Bach,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes?
Commissioner Parent.
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Okay, so we will see you on the 5th for the RDA on 290, Glenn. So we do not have anyone here for 90B Sutton Road, so do we want to just, for now, seeing how Glenn's here, we'll jump over that and pick up 88. Are you doing 88 Lakeside?
Judy
Judy
Kolecki, we have a
Kolecki.
plan for you tonight.
Sorry,
Okay.
can I-
We just got it.
Can I ask just a quick
Sure.
question? What is going on with 90B? Are they still communicating?
I don't,
So 90B, an enforcement order went out. I'm not sure what's going on with the post office, but we just received it back in the mail, undeliverable. We got an additional address, and it went back out certified mail, I believe, on 5/18.
But
So-
I thought 90B, they actually came to a meeting. So we
He
had
came
initial
he
contact.
came to a meeting, he knows where we stand, we needed to send him an official letter, so.
But since, we haven't heard anything since.
They had come to a meeting, but they never stayed till the end. That was one of the, like,
I thought we talked to them once.
10:30
Yeah.
at night
But
Quarter of
I
11
thought we
past.
initially talked to them because they were kind of very innocent.
Actually, yeah,
These are
no,
the
he
ones that
came to
you
the next
met.
one, I believe. Yeah, he
Yeah.
came to the next one, and we told him he needs to hire, he needs to talk with the state, he needs to talk with DEP, because there's all sorts of wetlands and endangered species in the back, and if he's planning on developing that,
And-
it's a long shot for that property.
Yes. And
So-
we sort of apologized because it was sort of a bad
Yeah.
purchase if he
Yeah,
wanted
he
to
was
build.
with his father. He was
Yes.
with his father for that one, too. He came
Yes.
in originally, and then I kind of said, you got to come back to a meeting, because we were at the end. And then he came back to another meeting, whether it was the following meeting or the one after that.
Okay.
So,
I
that's,
guess my biggest concern is that we keep the communication going, even if it's just
And
a
that's what we've
quick
been doing,
email
yeah.
of, when are you coming in again? Because we tend to get better results when we keep it going.
We're
So that's
persistent,
why I was
yeah.
asking.
all right, so that's the update. I mean, that's where we stand with that. We haven't, Don's resending the letter to another address, and hopefully we'll have contact in the next 2 weeks.
Same day we got the other one back.
So that's, I mean, there's nothing to report on that. So, all right, so now 88 Lakeside Ave, this is Judy Kalecki. She put in a patio, kind of expanded what she was doing there, and I guess, we just need to talk about what's going on.
If I could hand you the plans, because I don't believe my office sent you the plans. Thank you, Don. So we're filing the amendment that the commission is requesting, or an NOI, whatever the commission asked for. We filed for this patio, 867 square feet. I don't even describe what's shown on the plan. We're going to inspect that patio also, because I have a letter from the installer, and he's calling it pervious patio paver. We just want to make sure that we're giving it, I don't trust anybody. So I'm going to go check it myself, but he did give me a letter saying that it was pervious. I know there's a question about the 40% coverage.
Yeah.
And so we want to ensure that this has the spacing, the proper material in between. We've just seen some nice stuff with an 1/8-inch aggregate in between that truly is pervious. And we're running into quite a bit of pervious patio stuff over in Sturbridge, so we'll take a look at that. But that's the plan, 800, and all I have to do is this is existing grades who did the original plan for the wall. He sent his surveyors out. We're going to file it. Again, if it's amendment or an NOI, whichever the commission wants, we'll file that in the next few days. You'll have it. Today's Monday. Probably have it by something like Thursday or Friday. We'll PDF it over and drop some hard copies.
So my
And
question,
stamp it, of
the
course.
question here, Glenn, is, I mean, obviously, she's, she's fixing up her property, so she's already got an open NOI, so I don't see why we
Open
just
order of
wouldn't.
conditions, right?
Yeah, I would consider, what she's going to do going forward as an amendment, so.
I agree.
And I mean, not everyone knows that, they think, all right, I already got a permit and it's covered.
That's what
So-
she said to me.
And she was in there, she was in the office the next day, and she said, I didn't quite realize it, and she apologized to Don, so.
I don't want to take anything for granted, that's why I left that whatever option you want. And I'm, for my client, and I've known her for years, I would rather see an amendment, but I'm not going to take it for granted that that's what you're going to tell me, because amendments are up to the commission, not up to the client. If you want to give an amendment, fine, but otherwise it'd be NOI. But it is your option, and so I just say that, period. And that's the way I'd rather go too, for my client's sake. So thank you, and we'll write up the letter. We'll
I mean, that's what I'm
send in the
recommending,
fees.
is
I think
the
we already
board-
get the fees from her, possibly.
Is the board on the same page with doing an amendment? I mean, in a normal circumstance, if someone's changing everything, we would normally do an amendment. But, I mean, unfortunately, we
And it would tie
had-
it
we had
the
to-
order of conditions.
Yeah, we
We
just
could
pull
sell the
this,
order of conditions
just
for them
pull
if
this
they
in,
need to do.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'd
just-
like to see it tied in.
Yeah, I just want to make
If we didn't
sure,
amend, we'd have to close the other one and then open a new one, because we traditionally don't like an open order of conditions and open a next, so I prefer to amend.
Might I just say
Yeah.
something to that?
Sure.
Because we've been around, you have an open order, if you put another order on it, as long as that second order doesn't conflict with the first order, then you can do it. If there's two separate, you can't do a second order that might be different in whatever you're building for that amendment, for the second order. But you could have like 30 acres, and you can be building a house over here, and then potentially, because this barn might be in the riverfront area, but where the house wasn't,
Yeah.
you can actually then have a second order, because the barn is over here, it doesn't conflict with the house over here. So you can have two orders open. They can't conflict.
Yes, I understand that.
I just
We-
wanna-
We just don't, because it's
Oh,
too hard to
I-
keep track of.
yeah, it's too much.
No, no,
and to be honest with you,
30-acre property on the lake.
No, I mean, I'm just making,
I'd
because
like
over
to-
the
I'd like to know
years,
who's got
this
30
this
acres
question
on the
comes
lake.
up over the years, that's all. And maybe once every 4 or 5 years, or
And
even more, you might see two
the way
orders on the
people
property.
are
Yeah.
waiting for a new file number and all that crap, I mean, I'd rather
Oh,
just
I
not put
appreciate that you're
that
going that
on-
route.
on an applicant, so, all right,
Thank
so
you.
Glenn is willing to, Judy obviously knows that something went wrong here, and so I would just implore that, Glenn, that you take into account everything that she's planning on doing, in the next year or two.
Yes,
And
sir.
just,
We'll make sure it's all on the plan.
and on June 5th, if
So,
that's,
so just
I
one.
hope there's no more.
One little point, sorry. There was tree cutting done. I don't know if it was Judy's property or the one next to it, but there were trees cut.
Well, then, why don't we just check on that, and if there's some requirement for replanting, then we're gonna do what you ask.
And
So,
you might want to check for
could
her
I ask-
DEP number.
Could I ask, is it, if I'm facing the lake, to the
To the
left or
right.
right?
To the right. They have an open order of conditions as well.
We'll
But
figure
that's-
that,
Yeah. And it's right on the property line. There is a picture.
we'll figure it out then, because we
all right,
don't,
so,
And check
so-
her DEP number. I don't think it's up anymore.
I have it, DP number.
It was the superseding order to take those trees down, so I don't know if
She's
those are the
had
trees.
5 or 6 different orders on trees, so I
Okay.
don't know. But
I'll check it.
there are almost no trees left on that property.
Yeah, so, all right, so we're going to move in the amendment? Are we all in agreement on that? Okay, so Glenn knows what he needs to do. He needs to get that in as soon as possible so they can get on June 5th. And why don't we just make the motion to move 88 Lakeside, Judy Kolecki, to an amendment, and we can get this off of old business, and it'll go on June 5th as a
Okay,
amendment.
June 5th, we've missed the advertising deadline.
Okay, so the
if you're looking to
26th.
have the amendment on there, the deadline was Tuesday at 10.
It's got to be June 24th, 23rd?
June,
26th?
June 26th.
June 26th.
All right, so 6:26, we need that motion.
I'll make the motion to move 88 Lakeside Avenue from a verbal stop work to an amendment of the order of conditions on 88 Lakeside to June 26th.
Okay.
Thank
So
you very much.
Commissioner Brown with the first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Sharon with the second, and roll call, Commissioner Cirillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bach?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
All right, and Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes.
Want to just hand this to Dawn so she can stamp it received?
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Glenn, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you
All
for
right,
your
we'll see
time
ya.
again, always, thank you.
All right, so wait for Dawn to get settled. One last item. So 2 South Point Road, Ron Brigham, this is a cease and desist. There was a complaint that came into the office, and Dawn and, thanks, Glenn. Dawn and our code enforcement officer went out there to look and found quite a bit of things going on there. So cease and desist was done, and I will turn it over to Don to update us.
So Mr. Brigham was going to come tonight, but he did submit an RDA, and same thing, he missed the deadline to get it advertised in time for tonight's meeting. So he was like, you know, why can't I discuss it? I had a conversation with him saying, until it's on the agenda, we can't be discussing your RDA. So he asked to be continued to the next meeting so you guys can discuss his drawings and his proposal put forth. I do have to say, from the time I went out there, he's been very cooperative and has, you know, I think like most people, have struggles filling out some of the paperwork and putting all the adequate information. So he had given me some of the paperwork. I gave it back to him because it was incomplete, asked him to add stuff. So now it's complete, it's ready to go forward. So that one's being advertised on Friday as well.
Okay. All right, so seeing how this is moving to an RDA, can we just get a motion to move this to RDA and from the cease and desist? And we'll hear this on 26th? June 26th? Because he missed it.
June 5th.
Okay, June 5th, all right.
Yes, he's advertised for June 5th.
Okay, all right, so that's all set, it just didn't make it for tonight.
It missed the deadline.
Okay,
Worcester T&G is requiring a longer period, so some of the filings are coming in, and, you know, they sent Tracy a letter saying, you know, these are the cutoffs, we'll do it this time, but,
all right, that's good to know.
so, you know, we're on top of that as far as where it needs to be, and if it's not in time, it has no choice if we can't advertise, so.
All right, so can we get a motion to move 2 South Point Road, Ron Brigham, to an RDA for 6-5?
Are you inferring then that we're lifting the cease and desist?
He's under the cease and desist, but he's going to be coming, just like with the others, he's coming to us with an RDA.
We already have the RDA in our possession.
Yeah, so there's a chain there, a locked chain. It's not like we're detaching this and leaving it open, so.
So I'll make a motion to lift the cease and desist and move to an RDA for 2 South Point Road
Okay,
for June 5th.
all right, so Commissioner Parent with the first, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Brown with the second, and a roll call, Commissioner Cirillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon,
Yes.
Commissioner Bach,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes?
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, so we'll see that as an RDA next meeting. Staff report?
Okay, so I just want to welcome Pamela. And exactly how do you say your last name?
Sharon, just like Ed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, so.
I
wanna welcome
originally thought it
Pamela
was
to the
Sheehan.
Conservation Commission. And then I also just want to give the commission a heads up. If you have any vacation time planned for since summer's coming and are unable to make a meeting, if you could please let me know as soon as you possibly know, just so if there's not a quorum, as you can tell, our agendas have a lot of information, so at least if we know we're not going to have a quorum at a certain meeting, we can adjust the dates accordingly and then move it. You know, I know all of us have vacations sometimes. I'm trying to plan mine around meetings, which isn't that easy, but, so if you could please let me know so it's, you know, fair to everybody, so we can plan our schedules accordingly. And the only other thing that I want to add, and I've been trying to be really good at getting any last-minute items uploaded onto the meeting materials and all of that kind of stuff to have the most productive meeting possible. Today was actually insane trying to do that. So I'm really going to have to start enforcing a cutoff date. I know downstairs I have paper that says it's 5 days. You know, I'll still do it, but it would, you know, it just, I like to accommodate, but at the same point in time, it's not only do the commission members not have a chance to review it, it was a tough one. And as you can tell, I'm sitting over here because we were having all kinds of IT issues. I don't know if you noticed that screen kept going out, and then I was trying to see if this one went out.
I actually think this is a better location for you to be closer to us and be able to communicate.
Well, see?
So maybe
Yes,
we'll,
IT
I
issues
think
can
maybe
be-
going forward,
But
we'll
I'm on
put
a
you there.
short cord. They put me on a very short cord. So, because nothing worked over there. But anyway, I just wanted to be, because I think some of the commission members have been liking the added material, so you have the whole picture. But I think the more I've tried to accommodate some of, you know, the engineers and stuff, they're waiting till the last day, like today. And,
You shouldn't have to put up with that.
well, I guess
5
that's
days,
why
we
I'm.
published it, 5.
You know how you learn? So I was trying to be accommodating, because I do think it makes it more productive for you guys to have all of the information that they've submitted, but it's.
It does, but none of us are afraid to say you didn't get it in by the published deadline.
Well, I think that's why I'm just, you know, because even the commission has gotten used to me trying to squeeze stuff in at the last second, but it really,
Yeah, especially with new applications, it's like, you know, if you're gonna hold the rule, it's like, no, that's a new application because you have all sorts of other deadlines,
yeah.
like getting the stuff into the Telegram and Gazette.
So a lot of the new applications I do review before I stamp them in to make sure that they're complete, and then a lot of times I ask for additional items, and then once they bring in, and I give them back once they bring everything in, then it's like, okay, I re-review it, and when I feel everything's there, I stamp it in and we proceed. As I continue to learn, there's still a few things that, you know, I'm picking up meeting after meeting, so, you know, my list may get a little longer, you know, but I just wanted to, you know, just kind of be upfront about that, because today, yeah.
Well, thank you for trying to get us down the efficient road. So the next meeting is June 5th, 2023. It will be here in the Selectmen's Room. With that, can I get a motion of adjournment?
We adjourn, I do have a question.
Yeah.
That request for the open, I want to make sure what I put in there is correct, and if there's other additional information I need to supply with that. The request for, what do they call that one from Ann? She sent out the
Public
email to all
information
of us.
request?
The open meeting law?
Yes, no,
No, public information request?
yes, that one. The one that I handed you the packet on.
Oh,
I just want to make sure that what we're doing is accurate and correct, and because I've never had to deal with one of these before, and I'm just unsure of myself if I am not supplying something, or do I need to supply anything in addition to that? You know, because it's basically, I printed out emails and all of the attachments associated with any of those emails, but it's a very broad subject when he said all associated or interested parties. Because I don't know what he would consider an interested party. So it's a vague line for me. I don't know what else I need to supply.
Just from going back to a certain date? Any, like, you know, if it's a particular address or a particular project, anything that when you search your mail or anything like that, find it and send it on.
Right, so do I have to, because I searched my email, my phone, my notes, how do I certify that I've looked for any of those things, but I don't have?
You just send an email saying that I have, to the best of my knowledge, have supplied everything that has been asked of me, and as of this date, everything has been supplied to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, very good.
but I will check
Thank
with
you.
Ann, because I know she's been doing some extensive research on a few different items.
Yeah, so then do you mind if I just take that, so I'll kind of catalog what I put in there, and I'll get it down to you this week? Drop it off with you one night this week.
Okay.
I didn't
With-
get it, so I don't have to worry about it.
I have a note to, like I said, your email address is on there,
I know
There's
it.
certain things that Ann is, taking care of because the volume in
Each-
the office is,
Each department essentially has a public records officer. So Ann would be, if you've got questions on open meeting law and whatnot, Ann would be the department head on that, so.
She was going to be here tonight for
Yeah,
that.
no. So that's why Ann, even though Ann is not, our commission, agent, she is the department head, so she's taking the lead on the open meeting issues, and if we need to correct stuff, it needs to be, corrected going forward, so.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that I'm following the protocol, because she said to send it to her. I don't know if technically handing it to you is in violation of that.
oh, okay.
So that's,
I'm not sure on that. I
I
don't
doubt that
believe
is, but-
so.
The send it to her is, basically, if you send it to everybody, now you've got a problem with open meeting.
gotcha.
This is why you shouldn't, when you respond to stuff, always respond to the agent. Any questions to the agent, don't tag anybody, or hit reply all. Reply all has become the state's enemy, so. All right, so with that, any other questions on that? I want to make sure that you've got clarity. So I would just reach out to Ann if you've got specific
That's-
questions,
I'll
okay?
follow it up with her,
Yeah, all right.
and I'll get those down to you.
And
this
that goes for anyone that's got questions. So can we get a motion of adjournment for 9:16 on this wonderful evening of Tuesday, May 23rd?
I'll defer to the senior.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
All right, Commissioner Bach with the first, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, all right, Commissioner Sharon with the second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Unanimous. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.